Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ariel Helwani Show!
Back in your life on this Tuesday, November 19th, 2024. Hello again, everyone. I sure hope you're doing well. It is great to be here on another lovely Tuesday in New York City. Another lovely day. What a stretch we've had. Tremendous weather, a great time to be alive. Fantastic post-pay-per-view Monday has come and gone. Tremendous stuff with Oban Elliott in studio. How about Tom Aspinall? I mean, the world is just falling in love with this guy. Yeah. Bo Nickel as well, ruffling some feathers. They're turning heel on Bo. He was once the belle of the ball. Now everyone's like, you're a bum. That's how it goes in the fight game. We have so much to get to, not a lot of time. We actually announced some big news this morning. In case you missed it, we super officially announced Ariel Ade going down every Tuesday afternoon here in America, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. in the UK, 2 p.m. on the West Coast. It's an Uncrowned production, another check on the old list, another item, another jewel to add to the crown, and it will air exclusively on DAZN on all their channels beginning live at 5 p.m. Eastern today. And very exciting that Ade is going to be joining me at 5 p.m. So it won't be on this YouTube channel that you're watching us on right now. You'll have to go on the DAZN channels for that. But then afterwards, the audio will be on our feed and you'll figure it all out. But it's very exciting. It's another big thing that we're doing. It's another item, and we've got more to come as well. But just looking at everything that we're doing, we're really doing it. We're really doing it. The dream is becoming a reality. We're like an actual production facility here. This is unbelievable. And you know how I know that we're a real thing? It's because this window is real. Because when we started, rehearsing earlier in the day, everything looked different. But now you can see there's an overcast over. You see the overcast, Frank? You see it?
Oh, I see it. All right.
Everyone okay back there? I just heard someone hawking a loogie. What just happened? Are you hawking a loogie? What's going on?
I was laughing because Frank literally, as you were about to throw to him, hit his knee on his little audio cart.
Jeez, you okay there, Frank? Is it tight back there for you?
It is quite tight.
It's tight.
I think they're going to fix this soon. They're efforting, as they say, so that's good.
Frank is like Tom Aspinall in business class over there. It's a little.
It's tight everywhere. I can't lie.
It was just the prime time to throw to me.
Wall is right here. I mean, I'm backed in.
You look fantastic. What are you talking about? You seem to have.
I look great, but I mean, it's
You look refreshed, well rested.
I am.
I mean, how many hours did you get last night? Let us know.
I can actually tell you on my Whoop right now.
Wow, look at this.
It the entire time.
It's tough.
Let's see. 7 hours and 2 minutes.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
I'm shocked.
This is not in bed time. This is how much time I was actually asleep.
I'm actually shocked. I would have predicted at least 11 to 12 hours because if you recall at the end of yesterday's show, I said Chris Weidman would be on today's show. He had to reschedule. And so here comes Mikey Musumeci, who I'm incredibly excited to speak to. I'll tell you about the lineup in a moment. And then I get here at around 10:45, 10:55. And all the stuff that we are doing is Weidman-esque, and GC says that he went to bed at what time was it? 6:30, 6:45? What time was it?
It was close to 8:39.
That's
you sent the update at 9:32.
You were long gone.
I was in REM sleep at that point.
That's how does a person? How old are you? 31.
31. Yeah.
How do you go to bed at 8:15?
Because I get up at 5:30.
What are you doing getting up at 5:30?
Just right now, working out. Aspinall 75.
Wow.
Yeah, look at these pythons.
Wait, what is Aspinall 75?
I haven't actually started it yet, but it's like a workout program he has. Change your life in 75 days. I have to buy it first. $30, but
you have purchased the
toothpicks are on the way. The Big Berry toothpicks are on the way. I'm gonna become a toothpick guy because Tom Aspinall became one.
Okay, no time to waste on this very busy Tuesday. We got the big show coming up at 5 p.m. Today we have a massive show once again. Can't wait for our in-studio guests. Let me tell you about what's going on, and let me tell you why it's such a special day. Coming up at about 1:30, it's Ariel and the Bad Guy reunited, and it feels so good. In studio, my old friend Chael P. We got the seat out for him already. We got the microphone out for him already. Everything's ready to go. 25 minutes from now, Chael P. in studio. And I'd say we have a few things to discuss. coming off this past weekend with John Jones and Stipe, and of course, what happened on Friday in Dallas. So Ariel and the Bad Guy reunited on this beautiful Choo Choo Tuesday in New York City. At about 3 o'clock, we'll be joined by Darth Rigatone himself, Mikey Musumeci, who we found out late last week has signed with the UFC. Exclusive deal with Fight Pass Invitational. He has left one championship. I think this is a massive, massive coup for the UFC and a massive loss for one. Mikey Musumeci comes on the program today at 3. Great character to talk about leaving one championship and why, and signing with the UFC. Stay tuned for that. So a lot to discuss, a lot to get to, a lot going on in the world of combat sports. And yesterday when I was putting together the rundown for today's show, GC was already like 2 hours asleep at this point. I put in his
defense, I was also asleep at like 8 last night.
There's no defense. You're not going to shame me.
There's no shaming.
We don't care.
There's no defense. I'm just stating facts. Have I shamed? Has there been any shaming?
You're throwing the guilt
Listen,
my way.
That's projecting, okay?
Yeah,
you feel guilty that you went to sleep.
No, you're trying to make me feel guilty about going to sleep. It's just like the phone thing. You're
it's
like,
actually...
Your screen time is in 10 hours? We got to get those numbers up.
It's actually, I'm envious. I wish there's a world that I could live in where I could go to
you have to
sleep at
remember, I don't have children, which changes everything.
I'm very well aware. I'm envious. Of course, yesterday I wouldn't have gone to bed because I was watching the Knicks lay the smackdown on the Washington Wizards. Nice dub, nice dub. But in any event, I mean, guys, no need to get all,
those fighting words.
Yeah, no need to get all hoity-toity, all right? What did John say on Saturday? Serenata?
Serenata, sucker.
Serenata.
That's a great line. So I'm putting it together, and just like last week, November 12th, I put in November 19th, and all of a sudden, a light goes off. There are certain dates, especially in MMA history, that are etched in my brain. I think of November 12th, I think of UFC 1, I think of UFC 205. I think of November 19th, I go all the way back to 2011. And so, happy 13th anniversary, as crazy as it sounds, to arguably the greatest night in MMA history. Why? Because it was on that night the UFC made its debut at the SAP Center in beautiful San Jose, California. You'll recall it had long been the home of Strikeforce. By then, the UFC had purchased Strikeforce. They bought Strikeforce or acquired Strikeforce in March of 2011. November of 2011, they're now, the doors open for another MMA organization to come in, and it's the UFC. So they make their debut at the Shark Tank. And initially, it was a card that a lot of people felt like it fell a little flat because there was no title fight in the main event. But what we ended up getting was arguably one of the greatest fights in UFC history, certainly top 5. It was a battle between two legends. It was Dan Henderson versus Mauricio Shogun Rua, one of the all-time great fights. Please do me a favor. If you have not watched this fight, it's Hall of Fame worthy. In fact, it is in the Hall of Fame. Do me a favor and watch it. Watch it tonight. Sit back and relax. Incredible action. Back and forth they went. Two icons, two legends, two former champions. Of course, Shogun was just coming off the loss to John Jones a few months prior. Dan Henderson, two-division champion in Pride. By then, no longer with any belts, but who cares? It was magic. It was absolute magic. And it was a great night overall, if I'm being honest, because we had Vanderlei Silva defeating Kung Lee back home in San Jose. What a great finish that was. Uriah Faber in NorCal defeating Brian Bowles. Martin Kampman defeating Rick Story. Stephan Bonner, may he rest in peace, defeating Kyle Kingsbury. Ryan Bader and Michael McDonald. Mayday, remember him, on the prelims with two very quick knockouts. On the early Facebook prelims, we had a young man named Chris Weidman defeat Tom Lawler with a beautiful submission. Gleison Tebow defeated Rafael Dos Anjos. Miguel Torres defeated Nick Pace. Seth Baczynski defeated Matt Brown, the Immortal. And Danny Castillo defeated Shamar Bailey. Such a fun week, such a fun card. And I remember right before that main event, I was in the back. I was in the media room. And I was, we'd run back and forth to do the interviews, and I was with Casey, longtime videographer, member of MMA Fighting, Casey Leiden. And at the same time, we were watching Bellator 58. It was a rare time. Bellator used to be on Thursdays, Fridays, very rarely on a Saturday. But this time around, they had a Saturday card. And it was a card featuring one of their faces, Eddie Alvarez, defending his lightweight title, his Bellator lightweight title, against Michael Chandler. And a lot of people thought it would be fait accompli for Eddie, and it wasn't. It was Chandler defeating Eddie Alvarez in one of the greatest fights of all time as well. In the span of about, 2 hours tops, maybe even 90 minutes, we had arguably two of the top 5 greatest fights of all time. Michael Chandler, Eddie Alvarez, Dan Henderson, Shogun Rua, a dizzying night. And that was a great card in its own right as well. But and both fights, by the way, had rematches. And both fights, if I'm being honest, the rematches weren't actually all that bad, but nowhere near as good as the originals. All that happened, like I said, within the span of 60 to 120 minutes. And I'll never forget it. We were all buzzing afterwards, like, holy crap, how lucky are we? I remember I typically do this. I, work the show, come back to the room, pack my bag, and usually go to the airport. And this time, when you go to San Jose, it's hard to get a direct flight to New York, so I went to San Francisco, so it's a bit of a trek, and I got there quite early, as I'm known to do. And at the San Francisco airport, with 0 sleep under my belt, I was watching a stream of Fyodor Emelianenko against Jeff Munson. Now, this was a very important fight for Fyodor because he had just lost to Dan Henderson just a few months prior. He was back home, M1 Global, in Russia, and he ended up winning that fight. And so within the span of like 8 hours, we got Hendo, Shogun, Chandler Alvarez, and a win for Fyodor Emelianenko against Jeff Munson. A very, very, very memorable time. So I just wanted to commemorate that and reminisce a little bit. Loved those days. Great times. I wasn't even a dad yet. That's how long ago that was. And I loved those events in San Jose. I really did. Those crowds, that energy, that region was really special during that period. Now, let's get to some news. Speaking of Eddie Alvarez, amazing how this all works out. It was announced about an hour or so ago that Eddie Alvarez is in fact returning. He is returning to action on January 25th, back home in Philly. Yes, the Underground King is coming back home January 25th at the Wells Fargo Center. Just saw Boots Ennis with his homecoming there. Well, Eddie gets his as well. It's Knucklemania 5. Yes, this is Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, kind of like their WrestleMania, and he's going up against Jeremy Stevens in a very fun fight. How about that? A huge deal not only for Eddie Alvarez, but also for Dave Feldman, who is, of course, the founder of Bare Knuckle, a Philly guy as well. This should be a lot of fun. It's exclusive on DAZN, and a bit of a full circle moment. You'll recall the very famous press conference with Conor McGregor, who the F is that guy, all that stuff. That was for the Eddie Alvarez UFC 205 fight. So now here they are, Eddie, Jeremy, fighting under the Conor McGregor promotional banner, if you will, and now that he's linked up with BKFC, and they'll be doing the dance at BKFC Knucklemania 5 on January the 25th. So much going on in the world of combat sports. We found out on Sunday that our old friend Darren is in fact going to be returning. Darren Till, the pride of Liverpool, returning to action, and it will in fact be inside the Squared Circle, a boxing ring. It's a Misfits card on January 18th against Tommy Fury. This is going to make a ton of cash. They are going to sell a ton of tickets. I heard already the pre-sale is already sold out. Fury from Manchester, fighting back home at the Co-op Live, the brand new arena. UFC was there back in January. And of course, Darren Till fighting in Manchester and close to home. You know that's going to sell a lot. That will be on DAZN pay-per-view. Another Misfits boxing mega event. I was in Manchester about 11 months or so ago for that Tommy Fury KSI card, and there's a whole bunch of tension between KSI and Tommy, Darren Till, and John Fury.
Stop chatting shit.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of chit-chatting going on. Just about 30 minutes ago, they had the kickoff press conference in Manchester. Our guy, Ben the Bane, hosting the proceedings, and it all popped off, my friends. In case you missed it, this is what just happened about 30 minutes ago.
You're an emptyhead.
Hey,
You're an absolute...
That's John Fury throwing a bottle at Darren Till. And look at this. Fury, Till, KSI's in the mix over there with the hoodie.
Hey, yo, 6 p.m., baby, get your tickets.
Yeah, KSI with the plug, 6 p.m., which I think is now because they're 5 hours ahead. That is That is happening, January 18th. On the same day, by the way, as UFC 311, which we presume will be Islam Makhachev versus one Arman Sarukian for the welterweight title. Rick, can I ask you? GC, can I ask you? Level of interest, Fury Till.
7?
7 out of 10?
7 out of 10.
Now, is this before or after you saw Darren Till shadowboxing? We have exclusive footage here of Darren Till earlier today shadowboxing. Let's take a quick look at this. Your thoughts when you see this.
I mean, he looks like me in the gym, bro. He looks good. I think he's going to be ready to roll. I mean, to me, this is kind of like Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. I'm excited for the build-up. I'm excited for the spectacle, but the fight itself, I can't imagine is going to be a barn burner.
I think by the time they get to that fight week, given where it's happening, right? If this fight is happening in Philadelphia, no one really cares. But the fact that it's happening in Manchester, Tommy is from Manchester. He's such a big deal. Darren is from nearby Liverpool. He still has a very loyal following. I think it's going to be gigantic. I think they'll sell it out.
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of people are going to watch. I think it's going to be the talk of that weekend, along with BKFC. But like, I'm not champing at the bit, as Frank would say, to see it happen.
Thank you.
PT, what do you think? Till Fury, you in? We see you there?
Yeah, I'm very.
Whoa! What is going on? What is going
It's
on?
like a whole new man.
What is going on here? Wow! What is that? Is this PT in 3D?
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
What is happening?
Frank,
I can see your chest there.
Frank was barking in my face like all day.
What?
But my room is destroyed. This office is destroyed. There's boxes everywhere. Andy, thank God, such a lovely person. When Andy took control of the situation, we got everything done in 2 seconds. Frank, on the other hand, a disaster.
Wow. Is he in black and white? What is going on? Is this color corrected? What's happening here? What is that?
He's in
don't know why
white
he is-
office with a black and white shirt with a black microphone.
I feel like the gingerness of his beard isn't popping out as much.
Why are you showing us the knife again?
Yeah, why are you showing us the knife? What's
this
happening?
This is why I had to get stern with him. I'm like, look, man, you can't threaten me.
We learned that
This is
PT
what I
doesn't
had
have a toolkit or any basic tools.
No joking. I had to
Around the
explain the difference between a flathead and a Phillips to him today.
So it's all set up. Is the mic even on? Because it sounded a little bit hollow.
What's this? If I don't have a toolbox, there's just nothing but tools in here, boys.
Can you tap the mic for me real quick, PT? Yeah, the mic's not on. I mean, Frank, at what point do we, how do I notice this and not you?
Oh, it's there. It says it's on.
It is literally
says
not
it's
on.
on.
It's literally not on.
It says
By the way,
it's on.
if that's what I paid for, then that's the shittiest microphone of all time. If that's the actual sound of that mic,
It says it's on. It says it's on.
yeah, we'll have to work through the kinks on that one. In any event, Tommy Fury versus Darren Till, your level of interest, PT?
Not all that much interest from me. Yeah, I mean, I think I'll watch it, because I've got an issue when it comes to combat sports, and I have to watch everything. But interest levels, I don't know. I haven't got any texts about it yet. Like, usually that's how I gauge. How many of my mates are like, "What? Till and Fury? Who'd have thunk it?" I haven't got any of them yet, but I think they're two entertaining guys. I think there will be a lot of, like you say, at the press conference. Do you know, Ariel? Are they contractually bound to have some type of altercation at these press conferences? Because, I mean, I thought the novelty of these kind of things was that it was a novelty. It happens once in a blue moon, but I'm pretty sure every single Misfits press conference I've seen, there is a kerfuffle of some sort.
Well, it's usually because of John Fury. And so the question then is, do you think that John Fury does this on purpose, or is he that much of a loose cannon that he actually truly cannot control himself?
He's a fighting man.
He is a fighting man.
That's
He too dips his paws into gasoline, I presume.
like the great James Quinn McDonough. Yes.
Yeah.
Boxing champion.
I'm actually
Indeed.
kind of into it, to be honest. Like when Till fought some, I don't know who it was. I never even heard of the guy when he fought him. Where was it? In Abu Dhabi or UAE or Abu Dhabi is in the UAE. Was it in Dubai? Somewhere. It was somewhere in the Middle East. There was no interest, right? This one I think will actually be gigantic.
Oh yeah, I mean, they are huge commodities, both the lads. Like, in fairness, and it, if that's true about the pre-sale selling out, that's
Yeah.
huge. I wouldn't have thought it would. So that's very surprising. I've been in that arena. It's massive. It's supposed to 18,000 people.
Yeah.
How many seats? How many asses and how many seats, Ariel?
Something to that effect. Yes, it is. It is taking away a lot of business from the formerly known MEN. I don't know what it's called now. It used to be the Manchester Evening News Arena, right?
Yeah, I think they're refurbing that, or they did refurb it.
Oh, is it
But
closing down?
no, like they've just done it all up. They've made it more futuristic, I believe. But it's two huge arenas, and Manchester's not the biggest town, but
I know.
it's that new one is class. The Co-op Live, really really good. And for all of the controversy surrounding it before it started, I was blown away with the place, even though I was walking into it at about 1 a.m. to watch that UFC event.
Well, they haven't announced the rest of the card just yet, but let us see. Let us see how it does. I think it does big business, certainly in the UK. Some other news: it appears as though the Conor McGregor civil trial has wrapped up today. Right? There were closing statements earlier today. Pete, is that accurate? And I know we got a great update from you when this all kicked off about 2 weeks ago. Can you bring us up to speed as best as possible?
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, even today, I think the closing statements from both sides went on for 6 hours, so it's a very complicated thing to put a bow on. But today, McGregor's lawyers started the day, and they were just imploring the jury not to take any kind of prejudices they may have for McGregor. Um, Remy Farrell, his lawyer, said, some of you may loathe this man, and he didn't want this to have any impact on what they are putting across. He said, focus on the evidence. He said, look at the CCTV, look at the text messages we showed you. Um, Look at some of the witnesses that were there that can't attest to any discomfort on Hans' part. Danielle Keeley, I believe her name is. And then on the other hand, we had Nikita Hans' lawyers put forward, like, we saw a doctor from the Rape Crisis Center that assessed Nikita. They said her injuries were, akin to that they would see of a rape victim. Had an ambulance driver say it's the most bruised person they've ever picked up in the ambulance. They've also, in the last few days, they were putting across the idea that James Lawrence, the co-accused, was a patsy, as they put it, as in he put himself in the line of fire to defer from Conor. So that's their side of it. The jury will now go away. They'll get all the evidence. They'll get all the exhibits, and they will have as long as it takes to make up their mind. Unlike, I feel like this isn't like a criminal case where it's everybody has to be on the same page. As far as I know, I spoke to some lawyers not involved in this case, and I think it's 9 out of 12 of the jury have to believe that Nikita was wronged here or assaulted here, and that is how the decision will be passed down, as far as I know.
And do you have a timeline or any type of idea as to when we'll know the actual decision?
I can only go off what I've been told by lawyers. They expect the decision to be in the next 2 days.
Oh, wow.
So,
And with all of this coming out, what has been the sort of, you have your ear to the streets, you consume all of this stuff, you're talking to people. What has been the reaction to all of this coming out?
it's just incredibly polarizing.
Yeah.
It's extreme to extreme. You talk to some people, they're completely with McGregor on this. You talk to other sides, they're completely on Hans' side of this. It's a massive national discussion, though. That's without a doubt. Over the last 2 weeks, I believe it started 2 weeks ago, it's the cover of every newspaper as it's happening. We've got a general election coming up here now, and I'm sure it's going to be rivaling them for column inches when this is all decided. So it's been a really really huge story. I can't stress that enough, and the emotion attached to it is palpable too.
And worth mentioning once again, what's at stake here is essentially monetary damages, right? If he is found guilty, there's no jail time attached because it's a civil
No, and there
trial.
won't be no sanctions for travel, anything like that. This is just monetary damages.
Okay. And by the way, have they announced how much they are seeking, or is that up to the judge to decide?
I think that's up to the judge, but they have cited several figures. They had someone come in to kind of assess loss of earnings. I don't have that figure at the top of my mind. I know it wasn't in line with that initial comment. I know I referenced it the last time. When Hans' lawyers were kind of setting the table for everything, they had mentioned, McGregor's lawyers will tell you that this woman is out to get $1 million out of this man. we don't know anything for sure. I think it's all to be decided based on the decision.
Okay, let's see how that all pans out, and we'll get your take on it whenever there is an actual decision. Speaking of Irish MMA, do you want to get your reaction to the Ian Gary news? Now, it's not quite, I think, as big in the rich history of Irish MMA as perhaps Paul Hughes versus AJ McKee, but I do think that Ian Gary versus Shavkat Rakhmonov is a very significant fight. Maybe
I
top
can't wait to
six.
see you do this 180 when Paul comes on. You know what I mean? And I have to
Yeah,
say, Paul,
yeah.
this is one of the biggest things I've ever seen in
Yeah,
my life.
know yourself. Your reaction to Ian fighting a week earlier, right? He was supposed to fight December 14th against Joaquin Buckley. Obviously, the Bilal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov fight falls through. Shavkat says, I want to stay on the card. Give me an interim fight against the likes of Ian Gary or Kamaru Usman. In the end, no interim title fight, co-main event. He gets to stay in the States and fight. He gets a payday. That's great. Ian fights a week earlier. Number one contender fight. Colby Covington replaces him against Joaquin Buckley December 14th. Last main event, last fight of the UFC's calendar for 2024, and really a big shakeup in the welterweight division, and maybe a moving day, if you will, in that 7-day stretch, because there's going to be a lot of activity. Your reaction to Ian taking the fight?
Oh, he is a bad motherfucker. There's no doubt about that. Ian loves competition. He always has, and he's desperate to prove that he's the best in the world. I believe, actually, when we were talking about this initially, when we were thinking about who we match with Shavkat, I think we all unanimously agreed Ian would be the best fight. It's a huge step up compared to what he was getting ready for in Joaquin. That's no offense to Joaquin. It's just what Shavkat's done in the sport. I think it's an absolutely brilliant fight. And look, this will be the biggest non-McGregor win of all time if he manages to get it done. It's the biggest non-McGregor fight. It's a huge moment. And look, it's actually it's nice to be in this situation. I can remember in 2014, 2015, we were in the golden age of the sport and we never thought it was going to stop. We thought all these guys were going to be fighting for titles. Of course, that didn't happen. But right now you have Paul Hughes knocking on the door of PFL title, Bellator title, whatever way it goes. I'm not really sure which one he's going for. But and then you have Ian against Shavkat here. I think it's absolutely exceptional, and hopefully it has reverberations on the local scene here, which is in a bit of a rut, I'd say, over the last 8 years or so.
This is classic lemonade out of lemons, if you ask me. I like these two fights better than what we were getting. There's a part of me, obviously Shavkat versus Bilal is a title fight, and there's intrigue there. But Shavkat versus Ian, just stylistically, forget about the stakes and all that, is a tremendous fight. It's a fascinating fight. Then when you add to the fact that they've trained together, and some footage has emerged online of them just kind of friendly sparring, nothing too intense, but just seeing them side by side is pretty cool. I love the fact that Ian has asked for this. Not a lot of people are calling out Shavkat. I love the fact that Shavkat took the fight because he's essentially putting his number one contender / title shot on the line. If he loses, he's not getting it. He's undefeated. There's a lot at stake for him. And I love the fact that this to a degree is a put up or shut up time for Ian. He's talked a big game and now he gets to prove it, and he could be one fight away from fighting for the belt already. Probably a lot quicker than a lot of people thought. And then when you add to it, we finally get Colby Covington back. We get him against Joaquin Buckley. It's a big test for Buckley, a massive opportunity for him to fight a former multiple-time title contender, a chance for Colby to get back on track against someone who is on fire as of late. I love everything about it. The one interesting little nugget about all of this was Ian continued to say that he wanted Colby in December, and what we were hearing was Colby wasn't available, that he wasn't ready, that he wasn't healthy, and here he is fighting in December, just not against Ian. I thought that was very interesting, PT.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of people, and you can see them in Ian's comments, that have been giving Colby shit for a long time about this, and I don't expect that to stop anytime soon. But this matchup with Shavkat, look, I've already seen our friends at Red Corner MMA, Dennis, putting up interviews with guys who were on the mat when they were sparring, and he's like, I'm pretty sure Shavkat choked him. All this stuff is going to play. It's going to be great. Ian's going to be bringing this stuff up when there are press conferences, everything like that. And look, I saw this being announced, and I saw a lot of people obviously saying, finally we're going to get to see Ian, put in his place by this guy. I think Ian Gary has a massive chance of winning this fight. They're two very, very different fighters. of late we've seen Ian operate at distance and operate in a more point scoring style, but he's so efficient with it. And then Shavkat, a lot of work on the inside, great work on the ground. I think it's a brilliant style matchup, and I honestly think it's a pick 'em. I think it's up in the air who wins this fight.
This time next year, Ian Gary could be the UFC welterweight champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would have thought that he would, it's very rare when you're around a guy like so early in his pro career and you immediately know that he's capable of these things. Ian Gary is one of those guys, and Paul Hughes is one of those guys as well. It's just amazing to see them going about their business exactly as they said they would. I really hope that this picks up a lot of interest in Ireland. I think that's the one thing Ian's been missing, support from home. I think this is a massive fight. If they aren't going to get behind him on this one, I don't know what he has to do. So hopefully that happens. Hopefully we can stimulate a national interest in MMA. But as I say, earlier when we're talking about this civil case, everything about MMA is quite polarizing in Ireland, and it has been for a long time.
This is gigantic for him. I hope he gets the credit that he deserves for taking this fight on short notice. I know he was preparing for a fight on December 14th. Joaquin Buckley is not Shavkat. And I'm not knocking Buckley, just they're built different. They have different styles. One's Shorty Man, Didi Boxing. The other one is Shavkat Rakhmonov. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a completely different style. He deserves a lot of credit. You said pick 'em. GC, do we know what the odds are?
Yeah, it's not a pick 'em. Shavkat Rakhmonov, massive favorite, minus 325. Ian Gary coming back plus 260.
What do you think of that?
You say the Irishman, Pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel that's disrespect, to be quite honest. Shavkat's class. He's brilliant. It's just funny to me when Ian came in, people were nearly laughing at him. When he was like, I'm the best guy here. And Hamzat was obviously in his pomp at the time too. And people were like, yeah, but how would you do about Hamzat? And then it's like, how would you do against Shavkat? And then we're like, well, they're both kind of approximate to each other in terms of the rankings. They've both proven a lot so far. He's done everything he said he would, and here he is doing it again. I'm surprised by the line. I understand it. I think we all look at Shavkat like he's the boogeyman. He's where we had Chimaev before he left the division. I think he is that guy now. His finishing rate, obviously, absolutely incredible. But I don't know. I feel a bit of a disrespect there for Reno.
I thought it would be a little bit closer. I thought Shavkat would be the favorite, but maybe, I don't know, minus 250.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
You mentioned like fair play to step up on short notice. How awkward of a situation do you think that is for a fighter when they're asked to step up on short notice? And I know for a fact that fighters over the years, they're reluctant to say no because they think it will reflect poorly on them from the UFC's point of view. Like, do you feel like that's a situation you can't possibly say no to? Not that Ian would, but it just feels to me that like you can't even deliberate over a decision like that, or else you will feel the wrath of the brass.
Yeah. Also, the money attached to a Shavkat fight shouldn't be the same as a Joaquin fight, although one was a main event, one is not. You're kind of saving the day. Remember a year ago, Ian pulled out on the same pay-per-view, right? The last pay-per-view of the year. So maybe there's a part of him that wants to, do right by them. There's obviously a lot at stake. I think he's betting on himself, and I think he's making the right move. He loses to Shavkat. He dusts himself off, says, I took it on short notice, and I'll be right back in here, in a year in this same spot. So to me, it feels like a win-win. And like I said, two better fights, at least on paper, than what we were originally getting 2 weeks ago. So I love it. All right, so a lot going on, as I said, in the world of MMA, a lot happening, a lot going on in the world of combat sports. It's a big day for us here at Uncrowned, but there's nothing like a reunion. There's nothing like linking up with an old friend, an old teammate, an old colleague, if you will. Yesterday, we had the Welsh gangster. Today, it's the American gangster. There he is, the one and only. My old friend.
My ace.
Bring it in.
Oh, you can't leave one of those
sorry.
hanging. For God's sakes, Ariel. You don't leave people hanging.
But what's
This
more
is
exciting?
the big time.
But what's more exciting is that Mrs. Sonnen is here.
Yes.
The great Claudia. How are you?
She's
It's
trying to
good
kick
see you.
trying to kick heroin for the second time.
Oh, it's so great to have her here.
my
Mrs.
eye on
Sonnen in the building. How are you, sir?
She's not on heroin. That's a joke.
I know.
I am doing great, by the way. This is fantastic. I got to tell you, I used to come to your old studio and I would tease you, but there's truth within every joke. I would come in through the loading dock. They'd send you into the basement. It was like you're going 3 floors closer to hell. It was lined with boxes that I believe were stuffed with Lay's potato chips. This is one of the most beautiful buildings I have ever
like
been
that,
in.
right?
By the way,
We've made it.
just talked to John Morgan.
John Morgan, the
Yes.
MMA reporter.
That's right.
Yes.
You know another John Morgan?
It's
When I go like this kid from high school named John Morgan, like of
it's a
course
common
that John
name.
Morgan.
Yeah.
I will be hosting this year's World MMA Awards.
Wow, breaking news.
December 5th, broadcast details to come, Virgin Hotels, Las Vegas, and I told him I would find a way to mention that.
Well, thank you for mentioning it. I will be there as well, hoping to collect number 15.
15. I love it. I love it. Errol, this place is so
You
nice.
like this better?
They took me to. Do I like it better? For
Wow.
heaven's sakes.
You see
First
the
off,
finance.
I went up. I didn't go down.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I didn't see a whole bunch of things. I
didn't
went
see
into
the
the
finance?
bathroom here. The
Oh.
bathroom here was fantastic. It was all chrome wall. My dad was a plumber. I know nice bathrooms. This thing was gorgeous. Everything here has been beautiful.
This is amazing because last time you shat all over our.
It was disgusting.
Yeah, and this time you love it.
Yes. No, we were down with the rats in the cellar.
No,
at
I
that
know.
Old place.
I do feel like Chael's a little bit. He's not lit up properly. Do we have the in-studio lighting here? He needs to be a little bit brighter, guys. Do I not? Look at that. We look great here, but I feel like the single. I feel like the single is a little bit dark on him. Am I crazy, guys? Maybe they'll work on it. I just had to call that out. You know, we're just kind of working through the kinks here, Chael.
George St. Pierre over there.
Yeah. No. Where?
Wait, isn't that him with the gown, the karate, the gown and
This
the white?
is Hoist, but how about the fact
that is Hoist.
How about the fact that we've got
Still a
this?
compliment.
We've got Ariel and the bad guy, one of one.
Like that.
But what's interesting about it is, I do believe I watch your show with Daniel Cormier.
Thank you.
It's called
Bad guy and the other guy.
Bad Guy and the Other Guy,
Chael
aka
Sonnen with Daniel.
Helwani Sloppy Seconds. I don't see any mention of me on the set. I don't see any reference.
I mentioned you
Nah.
yesterday on yesterday's show. Yes, I did. And you want to know something, by the way? Is that me up there? Is that me in the corner, or is that Rich Franklin?
Well, you're all over this. You're here. You're
Because that I think is Vandalay, but it could be Chris Lieben, and I think
Chris. That's Chris,
that
yeah.
is Chris Lieben. I think that's me, or is that Dominic Cruz?
This is Dominic Cruz. Yeah.
I bought one of those for myself. I bought a little vanity doll for myself, and it came, and I had it up in the office. I opened Amazon. I put it over there like somebody gave it to me. You can't buy your own doll. And it was like a year before I looked up and go, Dominic Cruz. It actually said Dominic Cruz on the box.
thought this whole time
I
was-
didn't look close
Wow.
enough. Thought it was me.
That was a great era. Round
happening now,
5,
too.
they were called. Round 5. I don't know. They're a bunch.
All week they were talking about the greatest of all time is going to be fighting. I looked everywhere. I didn't see St. Pierre anywhere to be seen.
Okay, let's get into it. I'm so excited that you're here on.
Do you dispute that St. Pierre is the greatest of all time?
So I have 2 lists.
Okay.
One list is everything goes, meaning if you've popped, if you've done this, that's the everything goes list, and then it's the you never popped list.
Okay, that's fair.
So you never popped list, GSP number 1,
Sure.
and you know I love him. Pride of Montreal. Everything goes list. I have to put John.
Do you put John?
Yeah.
But you don't, I don't want to put words in your mouth as meant as a question, but you don't have John as the current GOAT, or was the performance over Stipe enough to move him in your mind?
Okay, so wow, we're really getting into this.
Well, are you where Dana's pissed?
Well, Dana's pissed about Dana. We talked about this, I think, in Vegas. Dana confuses GOAT and pound for pound.
That's right.
Number 1. He's making an error here.
You explain this to me.
Yes,
I understand your
and
logic.
you agree, right?
Well, I understand your logic. I had never been brought to
Pound
me
for
before.
pound
You make a
number
good
1
point.
is the current pound for pound king, the current man. GOAT is the greatest of all time.
Correct.
That could be someone from the 90s.
Correct. So,
So-
your argument, if I can jump, but just so you know, I listened. Your argument was that John, because we haven't got a recent body of work, has essentially disqualified himself from the title because it's not current.
And therein lies the rub.
Sure.
I do believe that the performance on Saturday brings him back to that conversation. I was so impressed with the performance that I now accept Dana's argument and say, GOAT, and in the discussion for pound number 1 current. I still ultimately give it to Pereira, but I think if I were voting today, I'm not. Pereira, Jones,
Really?
Islam. How do you not give it to Pereira?
Oh, that's a great argument. It just wasn't the one. I just read this, so I was just influenced as I walk in here, but it's Islam was 1, Jones was 2. Dana disagreed with that, believes Jones should be 1. And the only reason I bring that up is because it was just between those 2. There was no pair. I like what you're saying about
Who do you
Pereira.
have?
Well, but if I may slow this down. So, I mean, Pierre and Jones are even across the board. both light heavyweights. Neither one's a heavyweight. John's not a heavyweight. He just fights at heavyweight. He and Pierre weigh the same. They're the same age of 37 across. So are you telling me that you believe right now and after what you saw Saturday that John Jones would beat Pierre? Because DraftKings has a mythical odd, and it's a minus 650. 650. John is a 6.5 to 1 favorite over Pierre and a mythical line.
It's a little big, but ultimately, if I had to pick a winner, I think I favor him. Did you see
Pierre.
that takedown? No, John.
Okay, well, but you just said that Pierre, you believe is
wait, they
number
have
one.
Alex as the favorite minus 650?
No, John.
Yeah, so I agree with the line. I think it's a little big, but I agree ultimately that John would be the favorite going into that fight.
I understand that, but if I understood your list and you've got Pierre as number one.
To me, pound for pound is a mix of like mythical, like what would happen, but also what have you done for me lately?
Sure.
And Alex has won belts in 2 weight classes, has beaten the top guys at 205 and 185. Gan and Stipe are nice, but not exactly the creme de la creme right now at heavyweight. If he would have beaten, say, Francis and Tom, he'd be without a doubt number one.
But you understand where I'm still a little bit confused. You made a great argument. I think I understand it, but it's still at the end of the day, you've got Pierre 1.
Yes.
John coming down that list, whether he was 2 or 3 in front of Islam, but you are saying you think in head-to-head competition that John would beat Pierre.
Yeah.
So doesn't win it that?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one.
Okay, you see where I'm confused.
Sure,
All right.
but again, it's a what have you done for me lately plus a mythical thing. I've come a long way since last week. If he would have squeaked by Stipe, I would have said absolutely not. In fact, I probably would have put him like 3rd or 4th. I think I might have even put Ilya above him. I was that impressed, and that brings us to the performance on Saturday. I see a lot of people actually not giving him the credit that he deserves. I see a lot of people saying it was Stipe who was old, who was slow. What do you think? I think that's unfair to John.
That's not what happened.
What happened?
Father Time did not beat Stipe. John Jones beat Stipe. That's just what happened. And to imagine how good John could be if he followed some of the laws of logic, if he stayed active, if he stayed consistent. You and I know much about the sport as anybody. I could not tell you enough to bet one single dollar. I don't know what gym he trains out of. I don't know. The last I heard about gyms is he was kicked out of his, but I saw Greg Jackson and there was something there, and there was definitely a facility, but I didn't see any team shots. I mean, it kind of looked like a glorified garage training camp. And I only share that for you. Put 2 guys in his corner. He doesn't know either one of them. You know, he got some workouts with Gordon Ryan. He basically met Gable Steveson. He put them both in his corner. I mean, this is a guy like old school UFC. I would do that. I'd put my brother-in-law. I'd call my buddy. My uncle would come because I didn't have a team. So just imagine John did, though, and imagine he did stay active. We saw earlier that night proof of what you and I already know, but breaks don't make us better. Time doesn't make us better. We saw that with Chandler. That was a Chandler that had missed a step, that just hadn't been in there. He just needed to get some more reps. He did not fight Oliveira as well the second time as he did the first time, and we can directly attribute that to the layoff. He and John are the same age. Chandler took what we'll call 2 years off. John took 4 years off. John would be so much better now, and Ariel, that's a scary thought. That's not exciting. He would hurt people. John is sending the baddest dudes in the world to the emergency room. And there is no way that he's fighting to the best of his own ability. It is truly frightening how good he is at this game.
And especially,
do you disagree with that?
No, not at all. I was more impressed with that performance than the Surreal performance, if only because I felt like Surreal didn't really show up.
Stipe fought.
Yeah, we couldn't really tell who John Jones the heavyweight was. Looked to be in better shape and showed us the full arsenal. He's essentially the light heavyweight version of himself at heavyweight. We've never seen a heavyweight throw kicks like that. You know who he reminded me of?
Tell me.
He reminded me of David Loiseau.
Sure.
A guy who's been forgotten. Spinning back
I know
kick,
David
remember
Graham.
that?
Trained with him, yeah.
Charles McCarthy,
Sure.
flying knee. You trained with David?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I trained with him at Dan Henderson's gym in Temecula. He was a great training partner. He was a big star. He fought for things, and I was up and coming. So one of those guys that was very nice. Taught me a kick. He throws his kick straight. He just throws it out and touches absolutely nothing. But you pause and look at it and go, what are you doing? You're doing nothing. Boom. He brings that up to a flip kick. It was a Taekwondo move.
Yeah.
And that might even be a basic that some people, but I didn't know it. And he, took the time to show me. And it was very effective. You kick your foot out, it does nothing, but you stand there and look at it. Boom. Brings it upstairs, kicks you in the mouth.
And so I see him do that as a heavyweight, blown away.
Are you not interested in the kick? You're not interested?
No, but
the
we're
kick
trying.
hits nothing?
I'm the one who brought up David Loiseau. He's one of my favorite fighters.
All right. That's
if
true.
not my favorite fighter.
Okay.
Montreal guy.
That's in Canada.
Yeah. So he wins the fight, and I can't wait to talk to you about this. I was listening to all this, and I was like, oh, I wish we had an Ariel on the bad guy. This is last week. This is before I knew you were coming in and gracing us with your presence. By the way, Teddy Atlas dinner on Thursday.
Yes.
I'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Theodore Atlas Foundation, Dr. Theodore Atlas
Who
Foundation.
are you bringing as a date?
My wife.
You are bringing her. Good.
Who are you bringing as a date?
I'm bringing Douglas Crosby.
One of my favorite people.
Yes. I was hoping we could maybe.
You think we could patch things up?
Yes.
There's a misunderstanding that we have some sort of feud.
Yes, I think that's
you and
right.
I think the misunderstanding lies in his.
I think he'd be happy to hear that. He
Okay.
respects your opinion. I think he'd be happy to hear that.
Well,
there's no.
I believe in a world where we're all,
grudge.
peaceful,
Sure.
shaking hands. None of this like Dominic Cruz, Ali Abdelaziz
Yeah.
stuff. I don't want that in my
Sure.
life. You
He
saw
had
that?
gotten in trouble, if we could just digress for just a minute. But Douglas had gotten in trouble. He had worked the Mohegan Sun on a Friday and on one side of the country. He flew to the other side of the country to work a UFC on Saturday. And I can only tell you, when I was growing up, we credited guys that did that. We called them hard workers. I remember graduating from high school, and the kid with the greatest attendance record, he'd get an award in front of the whole class, and they go all the way back to kindergarten. It's a very hard thing, but some guys never miss. You would credit things like that. This was looked at as a negative, and we had athletic commissions say, yeah, that was a negative, but they're the ones that assigned him.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was just doing what was asked of him. And I do think that the punishment, I think any punishment was unreasonable.
Is
the
there-
fact that he's
has
still
there been a
gone to this
punishment?
day. Not that anybody's told me. I've asked him that. He will not confirm that. He's busy. He's got a couple of other jobs, and he's a father, and I get that, but I feel as though he's been punished. He's one of the great judges in the history of the sport. He lives in New York. We were just in New York, and he wasn't assigned. So I'm electing that he's been punished, but he's not actually admitted that.
I understand what you're saying. That was the Bellator UFC back-to-back, which then led to the controversial Jared Gordon, Patty Pimblett scorecard.
Right.
And
Stotts the night before.
And people were saying like, maybe you shouldn't be flying across. And I think there's an argument to be made.
Sure.
But ultimately, the guy who's, raising his hand and saying, hey, I'd like to work, it really should fall on the people who are assigning him
That's
that
right.
work,
Thank
right?
You. Thank you, Ariel.
No, so it is
No,
a
that's
fair,
tremendous.
It
Thank
is a
you.
fair argument. It is a fair argument.
Because they learned too. The commission learned as well. We have some of the best leadership. Mike Musumeci, come on. We have some of the best leadership. He just hadn't thought of it. Commissioner Mazzulli just hadn't thought of it. He thought, yeah, I can't just get a guy over here and there's jet lag. It just had never crossed his mind. He fixed that. That's never happened again. But I do feel as though Douglas had some fallout from that. Not to mention this controversial decision was the way the fight went. It was a split decision, but another licensed judge agreed with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it wasn't obvious. And if we have a learning lesson, great. But you can't punish a guy for come
Well, I
on.
don't think anyone should lose their job forever.
Thank you.
Based on a controversial scorecard or a weekend that maybe things were a little bit off. That's tough, especially in this sport where there just aren't a lot of people who do this job, and especially being a local show. So couldn't agree more with you on that.
Thank you for that.
So we have this fight, and the reason why I was saying like, oh, I can't wait to talk to you about this is I love the business side of the sport.
Yeah.
And you have John, who I said this yesterday, I thought he had his best fight week ever. Yeah. First of all, the gimmick with the gloves was tremendous.
Yeah. Did he do that?
1,000%.
Okay. Well, they said he did, and no one denied
this
it.
is
But
great heel work on his part.
Please.
Oh, guys, I don't like the gloves. You mind they moved the whole card for him.
What if he would have poked the eye? Could you imagine?
That would have been amazing. And he gives him the old,
the best.
yeah, where are your new gloves now, you baby? So then they change it. Are you surprised, by the
I
way?
would love that.
Here's my theory.
Okay.
Dana, God bless him. He digs his heels in. They relented. They gave him the old gloves. That would be admitting that you're doing something in favor of one person, right? That would be preferential treatment. Now, you can make the argument that you reach a certain status, you deserve preferential treatment. You've earned that preferential treatment. But I think to go so far as to not have people say you are favoring John Jones, they took all the new gloves, they threw them out and said, all right, we're bringing back the old gloves.
Yes.
I could see him doing that, like going to that extent, just so that people don't say, oh, you're giving preferential treatment to John. What do you think?
Well, I think that I agree with what you're saying. I've never actually heard confirmation that is what happened. I read a headline and nobody denied it, but I just try to think of those steps like John would have to contact somebody with the request in the first place, of which is going to say, no, we're not interested, because they would have to get lawyers involved in government affairs, and they would have to come to the commission in New York. They have to redo the whole thing and perhaps have to put up with guys like us second guessing it after the fact. I just don't believe that that's a realistic ask on the other side of it. It was reported that's what happened. Nobody said it didn't. So perhaps they did get lawyers, come to a government agency, and redo the entire card. But John has been so accused of poking the eye. Chuck Liddell and John both got accused of that a lot, and they did a lot of it, but they both had the same mannerism for defense. They would throw their punches, they put their hand out. And it was almost like an old cartoon where you're just trying to put your hand on the guy's forehead, and if you're far enough, he's working up that head of steam. There's a cartoon that used to do this. That's essentially what John and Chuck both did. They understand how to use reach, and for defense, they would post like that. At any rate, fingers went into the eye, and I don't know what we're talking about. John got some rule change. Who cares if he got a rule changed, Ariel?
I think it's great heel work. And then you have him saying, Tom's an asshole. I'm not fighting him.
Oh, that was great.
I don't like him. He's not respectful. You know what I mean?
You put that tweet out. That was great.
So good. So
It was.
so good on John's part. I think this is all great. This is classic. And I'm not calling him a coward, but you know, in pro wrestling, when you're the coward heel and not giving the people what they want,
Of course.
that's great work. That only makes us want him more.
Yeah.
What do you think? Based on how this is the John Jones who back in the day I used to talk to him, his lip would quiver. He was so afraid to speak to the media because I think he didn't know who he wanted to be, right?
Sure.
I feel like we got a great version of him last week.
Yes.
What did you think?
No, I really enjoyed it too. I know John Jones a little bit. I know, but Ariel, every time I talk trash about the guy, it's for the character John Jones. The actual John Jones that I've been around that greets my mother with a hug. He mooned my mom one day. I told you that story. Yeah. That's funny. He greets Miss Brittany. He won't even call Brittany Brittany. He calls her Mrs. Sonnen. He is such a gentleman. He would take her jacket. He'll bring her a cup of coffee. He's such a gentleman. But then the character that he plays, I don't like it. I think it's a little over the top. I think the real John, which you saw this week, John's got to have a couple of things. He's got to be a victim to be in a fight. He's got to be the aggrieved party. The other guy did something to him. That's important to him. That's really what gets him going. And he can bring out that violence. And he's a violent guy. Did you see those elbows he was dropping? Those had such bad intentions. After he threw him down, he grabbed the guy and just threw him down. He's got to be the aggrieved party. And he went as far as to say that Stipe had talked about his children. That did not happen. But John knew, John's reasonable. Today he would tell you it didn't happen, but he talked himself into it. And the other thing that John really needs is focus. I got to focus on this guy. He's no longer a wrestler where he's got 3 and 4 guys in one day. He's got one guy. And the whole week when John was denying Tom or even inserting the name of Aspinall, what John did not want to do is to get into the ring and have to deal with Sugar Sean O'Malley had to deal with, which is I got to fight you, Marab, when you, Nurmagomedov, are sitting right there. O'Malley had to fight 2 guys at once. I didn't like how they did that, by the way. O'Malley should have been able to get the microphone, do what he does, steer his own career. That happened to him the night after Cheeto. After Cheeto, he's got Marab in the front row heckling him. After Marab, he's got Nurmagomedov sitting right here. I'm just saying, in a game of inches, I don't think that was a fair thing to do to Sean, let alone to do it twice to him. John made sure he didn't get in that same spot. And John was blowing everything off, but it's not because he was considering retirement. He knew Stipe was bigger and more dangerous than anybody he'd ever dealt with, and he wanted to have tunnel vision. And like a great veteran that John is, he put himself in the greatest situation for himself. I just want you to make sure you understand what happened there. And Ariel, it's relevant because John is starting to mark out for his own gimmick. He's starting to forget why he was denying Tom in the first place. He's starting to forget, if we go back a year, somebody had put out a suggestion that perhaps Stipe and Jones would retire. So Jones went with that as a marketing standpoint, but over time, he forgot that it was a marketing standpoint, and he started to really think, well, maybe I'll retire. It's like, whoa, let's get some cold water in his face. Let's explain to him, the audience, including the power team that came out to see him, he's special. Enjoy being king of the world. It doesn't last long. Enjoy it, John.
So do you believe him when he says that he is not either interested in fighting Tom or, and this is where it gets really interesting, on Saturday was the first time where he said, yeah, I'll fight him if you give me FU money.
Right.
Do you believe him? No. Or is this all part of the gimmick?
Well, excuse me when I say no. No, that is very real. What I'm arguing is it wasn't. He's talked himself into this. And, I mean, there's a couple of things, Ariel. When John came back, he had Richard Schaefer come in and negotiate his contract. And I remember when I watched this happen, and I respect Richard Schaefer as fine as anybody, but I remember when this happened, going, John, you don't know what you're doing. You've been gone for 3 years. The model of distribution is so different now that if you come in and you argue a great big pay-per-view, if you try to do it the old way with the ceilings and floors and the deliverables, if you try to do this with all the thresholds that you left on, you're going to get your ass kicked because it's a different business. And you want to know who doesn't know it? That guy, Richard Schaefer. And they brought him in, and the UFC couldn't have been happier with what the requests were. And you said, you got it, kid, because he didn't know what he was doing. And I'm only sharing with you, he's arguing now, it's going to be the biggest fight ever, and I need more money. You get more money. There is no ceiling. Dana does not cap participation, of which I don't even know why Dana's so generous that he ever gave pay-per-view participation. There's no company in the world that you get a piece of business without writing a check in the first place and taking risk.
Well, what about boxers? What about boxers?
Sure, that's where it came from.
Okay.
So it all came from the boxing model. Chuck Liddell and some other guys had brought that up, and Dana was the first to want us to have more, be equal to boxing and better. So he was very generous when he gave that away. way, but he forgot to cap it. So if you do have a tremendous night like John is predicting, and I think John's right, I think that's the biggest heavyweight fight of all time. I think that's the biggest fight our industry can make right now. He's going to leave there with the biggest check, and that's going to include soaring over Brock Lesnar and the other greats. He's going to be rewarded for it. But if John is not confident that he can actually bring in that kind of attention, then how do you go to the table and go, well, give me a guarantee up front? It's like, I've given you a guarantee. I'm guaranteeing you a piece of the business, and you don't have any risk. Just get in there and throw your punches and kicks. I'll handle it from there. It's a very great spot, and somebody should sit John down and explain, this is the one. All this work you've done for that big pay, this is the one. But we don't need to change the contract. It's already in your contract. And I think if you do explain that to John, John's more reasonable than people think. He really is a fairly reasonable guy, but you got to explain it to him.
Sure.
He trusts. He doesn't learn things on his own. He trusts other people. Those people need to just explain to him what the participation contract clause means. I think he would be very happy.
But doesn't this feel like deja vu from 4 years ago with Ngannou?
That was such a great explanation.
It was so good.
You can't get
but it's almost like the
explanations
same thing
Yeah.
all over again, right?
Right.
And so that didn't work out.
That's right.
No one explained
For
it to
him.
him. Yeah, but I'm saying, so why are we to believe that it's going to work out next year?
Yeah, tough one, right? I think I'm talking to him right now a little bit.
Yeah.
He doesn't like me, but he does trust me. I mean, I'm just telling
think
him,
so?
I think I'm trying
Why
to
do you think he
negotiate with
trusts
him.
you?
I've been around John privately.
Okay.
And I shared with you what happened in the airport. I shared with you when we were calling that PFL thing. And it's not as though that was some bonding moment for us, but it did change some things. Not just us personally, but the way that I saw the world just a little bit. And John was racially profiled, just in case your audience missed us on the PFL.
Yeah.
There was a black man who was racially profiled. I couldn't see it. I could hear it. I knew what was going on, and I turned to go to that situation. I got a degree in sociology. It's literally what I'm trained in. It was John Jones. John Jones was being racially profiled. Can you believe that? If that could happen to him, it could happen to anybody. And when my wife and I got there, says hello to me, which he didn't want to do. He saw my wife, gave her a big hug, calls her Mrs. Sonnen, was a real gentleman. Helped her with her bags. John, he can be a good guy. But you gotta level with him. These guys, if they sit him down and they get a calculator out and they show him what the projections are for the Aspinall fight, he is likely to be projected to make more than he's going to sit and ask for. He needs to be real careful with what he says right now, because they will give it to him. But he could work against himself, and that is what Richard Schaefer had him do. And I'm not throwing Schaefer under the bus.
Sure.
He doesn't know the business. And the business changed from those 3 years that John sat out. And Schaefer went in and did not get him the best deal possible. I would have got him the best deal possible, but I understood the adjustment within our distribution.
By the way, as an aside, have you ever considered being a manager?
Nah, I did one time.
For who?
Francis Ngannou.
What are you talking about?
I considered managing one time, and it was going to be this young man. named
Wait,
Francis
back in the
Ngannou.
day?
Yes.
Did you talk to him about this, or
No,
was it just
I
a
was
pipe dream?
going to contact him, and I talked with the UFC, and we're going to build a show around it. But it was going to be one guy. I was
Come
going
on.
to take him, and they were going to give me the right to make certain promises to the guy.
Which era is this? Like
Francis Ngannou.
pre-Stipe first fight?
Yes.
As he's coming up?
Yes.
And you saw him as a guy to build a whole show around?
Yes.
And you were going to manage him?
Yes. And I don't know Markel. If I knew Markel was in the picture, I would have stayed out of his way.
Yeah.
But
At that point, he wasn't in the
Francis
picture.
was on his own. Yeah. And so I went to Ali, and I said, hey,
course.
do you work with, and Ali, he didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. He said, I'm kind of advisor. I help him when I can. And I just took that as enough to go, okay, he's got his thing going, and I didn't want to do that. But yes, the one time, and I'd even pitched a show around it. It was going to be Francis Scott. He does not know that. He doesn't know that till right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see Dominic and Ali going back and forth yesterday?
What is up with that? It made me uncomfortable.
Dominic's shooting straight.
What is going on there? What is the
I
genesis
think ultimately
of this
what
debate?
happened was someone suggested Cruz
You will
versus
never
Henry.
get Dominic Cruz to back down from a fight.
Oh my
by
God!
The way. He's
Also, I've never
looking
seen
for
him
one.
tweet so much. Cruz and Henry, and then Ali chimes in as the mouthpiece, if you will, trying to make a fight, and then Dom just goes for the jugular. I mean, essentially calling him a house manager, which is what he is. I mean, let's call it what it is, right? He's a house manager.
I don't know that expression.
House manager is basically the UFC says, "Hey, we have a problem. You go fix it for
sure.
us, and you stay in good standing." He works more for the UFC than he does his clients. There have been countless times. Chris Cyborg has told me the story where like
I understand.
she's in negotiations and all of a sudden Ali is there
I understand.
to try, but she doesn't. That's a house manager. And
I understand.
So Dom is,
But it's being used as a negative term. I mean, I like a guy that's got good contacts. So, but just it's being used as a negative term. But I hear you.
I'm
Please
using
go ahead.
No. I'm
Sure.
using it as a negative term because
Is a coffee possible? Would that be rude?
sure,
Is
no,
there-
guys, can we bring?
with just a couple of creams to cool it down? Would that annoy anybody? I don't want to annoy anybody.
Are you trying to change the subject?
No,
Is this making
no,
you
I like
uncomfortable?
it. Well, I didn't really like, house manager. It reminded me of house something else. I thought
No,
it felt like a bigger insult. I don't.
Well, I mean,
It felt like
it
that.
is a negative, but it's a term that is used in the fight game for someone
All
who
right.
kind of works more for the promotion than works for the fighters.
Okay, so did he want Dominic to fight Henry, or was Ali standing?
Someone
up?
threw it out there.
No. Okay.
Someone threw it out there
I like that
because
fight.
you like it.
Yes, I do.
I love it too.
Yeah.
I love the idea of one last fight for Dom. By the way, guys, if we could bring in a coffee.
If that's
first.
not annoying, guys, if that's annoying,
is that a yes, Frank?
blow it off. Thanks, Frank.
Um,
Hey, can I tell
Is
you
it
one
hot
more,
under
though,
the
if we're
lights, by
talking
the
about
way?
that?
Is
What's
it
that?
under
Yeah, it's
these
a little bit
lights?
warm. You know who I'd like to get in that mix of is O'Malley. I don't think Arizona's big enough for the three of these pricks. They got one thing in common, or besides Arizona, they were all world
the three of
champions.
them, yeah.
You've got to get O'Malley in this somewhere, whether it's with Henry, whether it's with Dominic,
I like
whether
O'Malley's
it's the winner, but
Sanhagen.
at least that's a great fight. But at least the conversation.
or O'Malley
Bring Sean in on that.
Aldo.
Oh, O'Malley Aldo. I don't know. That might feel a little bit, O'Malley at some point in his career would have looked up to Aldo, and I don't think he wants to beat up Jose Aldo.
You
I don't
it's-
think he wants
You think
to
it's
go
that
punch
like it's that one-sided, or you think he just doesn't want to fight at the guy?
I think he just wouldn't want to get into the place. I'm just guessing, but I was a young man before too, and when there's guys that you admire, there was guys that I wouldn't have wanted to fight. I would just imagine O'Malley would prefer to
But isn't
not.
that the dream? Like when you get to
fight
fight an idol?
No, it's really what you say.
Yeah.
You say that to get yourself there, admire guys until they become your competitors. Like there's some expressions to get you over that hump because you got to go do it. And largely the student does have to take down the master. Like there's truth to that, but no, it's not something you actually want to do. No.
Speaking of expressions, you always used to say when we were doing the show, you don't like when the fighter turns the gun on the UFC.
Yeah.
Was John doing that on Saturday when talking about negotiations?
John, it was bad what John did. And he didn't mean it from that standpoint. John had the right to be high. John had the right to, guys will get high. I'm going to fight George St. Pierre next. Like, no, you're not. I'm going to save you from that stupid idea that you just had. Like we used to have to do that a lot. You and I would have kind of get a guy out of something because he was a little high on adrenaline. And, I think it was a big relief for John. John may never tell us the truth, but he was worried about Stipe. John respects size. And when Stipe got on that scale, 15 pounds of muscle bigger than him, John respects that. He took 3 years off and gave a world title back just to try to win a world title somewhere, but he wanted to put on some size. And I could just share for you I was watching John get in this frame of mind. I was watching him make himself aggrieved. Stipe and the kids and all these different things. Stipe's caught off guard, didn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But John put himself in this spot. He didn't want to see Asimov there. He didn't want to see Pierre through there. He didn't want to see anybody. He just wanted to see this one guy because he really did respect him. And so that is a relief when you get through that. But to answer your question, to go on with Megan O'Leary on the UFC's cameras, you went to their cameras and you used their camera time to begin to negotiate against the UFC. Yes, if you're asking me if that was bad form, yes, it was. And secondly, he's got to be taught how this contract works. He's going to get a guarantee. That number doesn't matter. Don't look at that at all. You're doing this purely for the pay-per-view, of which has no cap on it. And he's right. It's a massive pay-per-view. The problem is when you go in and do these contracts, Ariel, okay, I'm running the UFC. I got 776 guys. 770 of them are interchangeable mediocrities that do nothing but cost money. But 6 guys keep the lights on for everybody. That's the business. No problem. But I can't sit and talk with you all, including you 6 that bring me an ROI. So I'm going to sit with you one time. I'm going to do a 3, 5, and 8 fight deal, which is my way of saying, don't call me for a while. This is the talk. The business stops if you stop that. And Francis tried to do this. Well, I don't know why I can't sit down and talk with them. Well, because they don't. About what? I'm going to go to lunch with you that I'm going to pick up the tab for that you scheduled. And by the way, the only way you leave here happy, not with just the big meal I put in you, is if I agree to give you more money than I already agreed to give you the night that you were giving high fives and sending out Instagrams and saying, hey, Mom, we finally made it. What are you doing different? You're not doing anything. I did my job so well that you've got convinced that your job should change. It's infuriating. And it also stops the business. So when you come out and you say, I need to sit with them and I need to talk with them, they're going to sit back and go, I already have a contract. We've already sat and talked.
Right.
And it's very important that they do that. All of a sudden you start giving in. It's not giving in and you're getting loose with the reins. The problem is the resources and the time. I cannot establish that I got to sit down and talk with a son bitch every single time we do a deal. And moreover, human psychology would not allow John or anyone else to do a job and do that same job for less. Nobody since the beginning of Dana's career has made less. They make something, they might stay even or they go up. They might stay even, you win, you lose, or you go up. Nobody goes down because he can't get them there. He couldn't get them to show up. They even tried to do this once with Michael Bisping, and Michael Bisping said, goodbye, thank you, and goodbye. It doesn't work from human psychology. What I'm sharing with you is John's got one big fight. He's got Aspinall. So we go and change a contract to satisfy Aspinall. If you want him to defend after Aspinall, there's no opponents. He's not a master of building fights. It's just not a skill that he has. And now I got to live not only with your new contract that I didn't want to do the first time, but it's going to be an escalation against an obviously lesser draw. It doesn't work. Business is not sustainable. And it's very important that you make everybody clear. This is a volunteer army. If you want out, you can go. If you want in, and for John specifically, it is endless. Dana never capped his participation. He had the right to, he had the legal right to, and he didn't do it.
Gosh, you're on fire right now.
It's a very big deal.
You're on fire.
If you ever dream of being a fighter, like
Here's
you
your coffee,
dream this,
by the way.
Hey, I really
Eric
appreciate
Rick,
this.
coming through.
You treated me amazing today. Thank you, buddy.
Um,
But Ariel, if you ever dream of being a professional fighter, whereas when I'm done with my career, I will then spend the rest of my life or with my time doing what I want with my time. I don't have to do other things. That dream could only come true if you got to a point in your career where you had participation. There is nothing else. There is no flat fee, no bonus, no sponsor anywhere. You have to have participation. John has it. John has it. He is in the most beautiful spot. John did not do anything Saturday that the other 28 guys on the card didn't also do. He didn't train harder or longer, or have more people, or have bigger dreams and goals, but he did it better. And that's capitalism, and he got treated a lot better. But then have your hand out on their cameras and act like it's not enough because I finally, after all these years, I finally am not fighting in front of a bunch of people dressed up like empty seats, which is what he's done for every fight he's been on until this one, and he's right on the next one. There will be something very special against Tom. But now he's the one getting in the way. That's weird. And Tom versus John is a great selling pay-per-view. But I will see your Tom versus John, and I will ante myself a Pereira versus Tom. And I'm not going to lose a whole bunch of business.
Which is bigger? Which one draws?
Tom and John.
You think so at this
Tom
point?
and John.
Yeah.
Not for long, because parody's fun.
Right.
So if you start all of a sudden you're talking about champ status and you get some really fun stuff. Ariel, if Tom is the interim champion on Saturday night, the moment the bell rings for John's fight, the bell ringing, not a weigh-in, not a battle, the bell rings, Tom is now stripped of his title. That would be definition purely of interim. You cannot have an interim in the presence of the undisputed. Now, I'm told they didn't strip him.
They didn't. Yeah, you tweeted that, but yeah.
But if they didn't strip him, then what's John? And you can't say he's undisputed.
No, he's disputed. He was
It'd be disputed.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be very
He was
disputed.
disputed when he won the belt because Francis is the lineal champion.
Yeah.
You have
Well, you're talking lineal champion, and I love what you're saying there. I ripped his toe off and threw it into the second crowd. Kids were horrified, and I did it anyway.
Yes.
They're talking about revisiting rules and revisit a 12-6. Well, go revisit what you do when a guy's got a bone sticking out of his foot, and then bring daddy his championship.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to share with you, Ariel, they introduced him as the undisputed champion. They introduced that fight as for the undisputed championship. Yeah. That cannot happen in the presence of an interim champion. So if Tom is still interim champion, and I understand we're going to fiercely adhere to the rules we make up as we go, but one thing about interim is that's always been the number one contender. So if he in fact is the interim, we don't have to have a discussion against Tom and John. John would have two choices. He would fight Tom or he would not fight, but he would not find another opponent. He couldn't do that. If they strip Tom, as they should have done, because you can't have both at the same time, you can't introduce John as the undisputed champion. He wouldn't be.
Yeah, I don't think they will strip him.
Wow, you blew right past
No.
That is so big.
We're chatting.
What I
Do you
just
want me to? This is a conversation. Yeah, I can't have a comment on every comment that you make. We're going back and forth. We're vibing here.
You can go wow. You go wow. Thank you for that mind, Chael.
It's
I
just-
usually have guys
this
like
is a
Mikey
ping pong match.
Musumeci sitting in here.
It's a
telling me
ping
about
pong. Oh,
armors
he's
and
great.
Pizza.
Listen.
No, he's great. He's great, but he can't bring you this insight.
No, 100%. I would never talk to him
I was
about
hoping
this.
he'd be there today. I thought he was going to be here.
Yeah.
And I had a question. I wanted to get on the ground.
Tell me,
and ask
we'll
him a
clip it
question.
off and
Well-
oh, it's a technique question. I thought it was
Yes.
about pizza. Well, maybe we can clip it off. What's the question?
But I have to say that because I don't want him to think that I was teasing him. I'm sharing for the inside of the business. It has to do with I call it a rolling shoulder low. Some other guys call it Oompa Palata? No, I got it wrong. You're
Omoplata.
you're on the ground. Yeah, Oompa Palata is what I meant to say. So you go, when you're defending it, though, you can hit a roll. When you roll, you come with your knee and your chest up. He'll understand this. With your knee and your head up so you don't get guillotined. And I want to ask him if that's the correct defense, because some other guys now are getting stuck in this, and they're just stepping over the body. Now, you can't step over if you do like Big Nog did when he showed the world this in the first place, and you look for that leg where you can even lay back and go for a leg lock. So sometimes you can't clear that way. You have to roll. But I just think if you roll, there's got to be a counter to that I haven't been shown. So I want to know, what is the textbook currently saying for defense of a Omoplata?
We were going to ask him this, and then I'll send you the clip.
Thank you.
By the way, do you still train? Do you still do jujitsu?
No, I don't train, but I'm getting ready to make a big comeback. Not to like fighting, but like a comeback to the gym.
Okay.
And so I'm working on it, but I do very much enjoy technique. I'll go down some roads on YouTube. Do not look up Eric Paulson technique on YouTube unless you have an hour. That man just might be a genius. I can't put him in front of Matt Hume. Matt Hume is still the wizard of this sport. But goddamn, Paulson's close. It is something else, the things he knows.
So you'll sit there and just watch?
Man. Oh, I can't stop.
Wow.
I can't stop. You ever met Eric Paulson?
But at the events and whatnot, yeah, for sure.
Very kind person on top of that. Like if you didn't know who he was and you met him, you think, what a kind and gentle man. Then you find out
I believe he trains Cade Rutolo.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know. Oh, for MMA.
Yeah.
Rotolo's Galvan's guy.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's the one. He's the one who like the
That'd
phenom.
be the perfect fit.
But can I ask?
If you have a grappling base, that's who you want to go to if you can get to him. He's hard to get to.
I was wondering about, when we talk about the whole John Jones situation. Yesterday I had Tom on, and I just wanted to get your take on this. He says that he thinks that it's not a money thing. It's not a he's an asshole thing. He thinks that John is a serial tape studier, and he likes to be ready. He likes to be ready, right? UFC 151, he wasn't ready, right? And his theory is there's not enough tape on me. My average watch time is 2:02, and this is why he doesn't want to fight me. Your response?
Got me thinking. It got me thinking a lot. I have to hear how good Tom is from people that are in the room with him and some of his own buddies. And boy, they love him. Like, that's a really tight room. Apparently, Tom is just a good human being.
Yeah.
We've met his father. We know the story of the family. But I share with you Michael Bisping, who's gone and watched him train. I have to hear how great Tom is from these guys. I haven't seen it. I've seen great success. I haven't seen the greatness. But now I know why. Tom's right. There's not much footage on him. I don't know how he wrestles. I don't know what his defensive wrestling looks like. I've never seen somebody try to get it on a double. I don't know what his guard looks like. He hasn't spent much time on his back. Like, he brought up such a compelling point that no, that is not the reason. But he found a way to put himself over. But I thought it was really great. And I was looking at it because, see, I hold this against Tom. So many people are saying that this is a great thing and he's knocked out 6 guys and they're in the first round. It's like, I don't like that, because one thing about Jones, he's tough. The people don't credit John for that. They credit him for being dynamic and good and versatile. John is tough. You get into the 5th round, don't think he's fading. You break his arm in the 4th round, he will show up for the 5th round, and he is not fading. I don't tell you that Tom would do that, but that is a lot of muscle for anybody to carry around. It's the biggest thing that Francis has to work against. There's a lot of gifts and advantages, but oxygen late is hard. And I just bring that to you because it did make me think of it differently. It's like, well, yeah, maybe Tom is all those things that Michael Bisping said he is. I just haven't seen it. Tom's only left the first round of the UFC one time. It was to finish Andrei Arlovsky in the 2nd round. But I don't love that. I like a guy that can go 18, 20, 23 minutes pretty hard. What are you looking at with the cup? Did you want a coffee, or would I make it too much? What do you keep staring at?
I'm just looking at you. What's wrong?
You're making me very self-conscious.
But I'm looking at you. You're vibing right now.
I didn't drink
I'm
it.
letting you
It's a very
speak.
hot coffee.
Oh, is it? Take the lid off. You're out of your mind.
Yeah, that's a very hot coffee. Golly.
Well, that's
a lawsuit in some
by the way,
states, Helwani.
Is that milk? Did you ask for milk? I thought you asked
cream in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to cool it down.
But did you know that?
Yeah, I like the color.
Yeah.
When I put cream in, sometimes it doesn't have a taste, but I like the color. I prefer this color.
Do you like almond milk, oat milk?
Oh, no. I grew up as a life of heterosexuality. Yeah. Not that there'd be anything wrong with that, but no, I do cream from cows, like a man.
Crystal ball, does
Usually
it happen?
From the field, I would go out and get it myself like a true man.
That milk wasn't intended for us.
Many say that.
Yeah.
I do know about that.
leave it at
Robert
that.
Follis agrees with you.
Yeah.
Robert
May he rest in
Follis gave
peace.
us some, may he rest in peace, brought up, if you drink a ice cold milk, you'll get that little phlegm in your throat.
Yeah.
Well, phlegm only comes, that's your body fighting something. And that was always Robert's argument.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the wimpiest kids I ever knew in school, the kids that always had a broken leg or they couldn't do any sports, every one of them to a man, allergic to milk.
Wait, I'm not. I just feel like
I'm just sharing with you, that
who am I
calcium
to
does
take
matter.
milk away from a calf?
Sure.
And I don't mean my calves, like which are gigantic, but I just feel like it's.
I haven't heard that one.
You know.
That's interesting.
Does it happen? 2025. Do we get this fight?
Where are you going to get milk from an almond anyway? You ever squished an
squeeze
almond?
it, you squeeze
I don't
it.
believe
It's
that.
like, how do you get juice out of a
Press
grape?
it, huh?
How do you get juice out of a grape? It's a little ball.
Yeah, sure.
Where's
You
the
squeeze
juice?
it, it's full of juice. I've bitten into almonds. They're not full of juice. They're not full of milk.
There's other stuff in
You ever
there.
do coconut milk?
Don't love it.
Put a little coconut milk in a cereal. The bottom of the bowl will taste just like the bottom of a bowl after you eat Frosted Flakes. Very good.
Coconut milk.
Yeah.
You have this. You just told me a minute ago.
I ever tell you about Nate Diaz ordering a coffee?
No.
So my wife is deathly scared of Nate Diaz.
Okay.
And I've tried to tell her not to. I'm like, if you go introduce yourself, he'll buy your coffee. Like he will
Yes.
look, you'll have protection
Sweetheart.
for the rest of
Yeah.
the time. She doesn't know that. So we're in Hawaii and she ends up in a coffee shop behind Nate Diaz. Now, when you order coffee, there's a process. Okay. There's even words such as vente and grande and doppio. And there's a way. Nate Diaz gets up there. He says, coffee, almond milk. That's it. And they start asking him questions and he doesn't have the answers. He's stuck with coffee, almond milk. And my wife thought it was the funniest thing.
She helped
comes
him
back to
out?
the room and no. She said they figured it out. Like everybody knew who he was and there was people in line and like these kinds of people. But I just always thought that's fun. I will go into a coffee shop and I'll order the Nate Diaz in my local town, which is just coffee with almond milk. They've even had a special before for
Wow.
Nate Diaz because I've told this story. Yeah.
I did want to
You
ask.
are a no-selling son of a bitch.
No.
You came to me and
there's
you
so
had
much,
a story like
there's
that.
so much.
You imagine
That
running
one
into
fell a
Nate
little flat.
Diaz
It
when
fell a
you
little flat.
admire him. You admire Nate. So my wife's behind him, and he says,
Some are here and some are here. You know, they can't all be.
they're not all home runs.
Dingers, yeah.
Even Babe Ruth struck out sometimes. Well, my hometown coffee shop liked it enough that Nate's got a special, so not everyone hated that story, you prick.
What about this Oban Elliott?
What about us getting along? Are we getting along?
We are getting along. We're
I'll
fine.
tune
In
it
fact, the
back down.
guys in the back said, like, this time you can't argue because there's no screen in between you guys. So
yes.
you have to. But I said,
I forgot about that.
he knows that I would bury him where he stands.
Oh, my
if push came to shove. He knows this. He knows this.
I
Oban
don't go
Elliott.
anywhere without steel on me. I wouldn't even reach, Ariel. I wouldn't even reach.
What's Steele? You're packing right now?
For God's sakes, am I packing?
Why does Oban Elliott
What if
like
I
you
run
so
into
much?
a dice game? What a gentleman.
It's unbelievable.
Ariel, I got a ride over here today from Carlos. Carlos had just met Oban. He drove Oban. Oban is sending him messages. He tweeted out. He sent a public message about how great Carlos was. And I'm just saying, everybody likes Oban.
He's incredible.
I met guys at the airport. This guy came up and he said hello, and we did a photograph. And he said, yeah, I'm Welsh. I came here to watch Oban. I said, oh, hey, I'm looking for him. Where's he? Like they were friends. He goes, oh, I've never met him. So wait a minute. You've never met him, but just because he's Welsh, you flew all the way to a foreign country? He goes, oh, yeah, lots of us are here. So, I mean, this guy is the beginning of a phenom, not to mention he can squabble.
Yeah.
Well, what is up with that era? He showed patience in that fight. He's got this guy coming at him, winging him, and he knows if one of those catches, and he kept his eyes open. Matt Mitrione was so good. Matt Mitrione had eyes. Matt Mitrione could move a quarter of an inch and stop a Fedor punch from sending him into outer space. Oban has those Mitrione eyes where he never blinks. He knows right where he is. He knows right where he is. Boom! And that's why he was in position to attack. It was very impressive. Looked like a real veteran.
To hear someone give you so much praise, so much, like, gets emotional when speaking of you, asked you to walk him out, it didn't work out. Why didn't it work out, by the way? Why couldn't you have walked him out?
Kim Sumbler is no longer in charge in New York.
Okay.
And going through the other routes when Miss Kim was gone, I just didn't get it done. And so there was a place that the UFC has. And it's very important. What is the UFC's area? What is the commission's area? That actually falls under a legal contract for insurance reasons. So the UFC had an area that was theirs before it kicked into the commissions. So the UFC brought me down, and I got to talk to him right before he went to the tunnel.
It was a beautiful scene. We have the scene right here.
I
It was
just didn't
straight out of a
wanna bother.
movie.
I think I sent it to you.
Look at
Didn't
this.
I send it to
Look
you?
at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Yeah, oh, I made this. I sent this to you.
You sent it. No, you sent it to ESPN MMA. Thanks a lot.
Okay. No, there's me right there.
This
I
is
see.
straight out of a movie. You said to him, "You smell really good." He said.
Yes.
But like this is someone about to make that walk at Madison Square Garden, and they want you there.
That was incredible.
What an
it really
honor.
was incredible as the kindness.
You love him like a son?
Yes, it is unbelievable. There's nothing he can ask me for that it
He's
would
a beautiful
not be a
man.
yes. Yeah, not a single thing.
Would you train with him? Why don't you train together?
Well, it was another reason that I was so brief there, where this was kind of our moment, but
You don't want to
I
step.
didn't belong.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I didn't.
get it.
He was very sweet to include me, and if it was from a figurative standpoint, then I'm just going to be figurative, and I'm going to stay out of the way. And I did say it to the coaches as they came through. Hey, thank you, or thank you for preparing him. Thank you. And all I said to him is, I believe in you. That's it. I didn't say one other word. And we're hugging. I said that in his ear. I said, I believe in you. And that was it. I pulled back. He smells like $1 million. That's a move Bisping used to bowl to. So, like, it might be with the British, maybe culturally. He smelled so good. And he said something about it. He goes, I like to be fresh when I go out there. He said something like that, but it was a funny moment.
Great.
I just got out of everybody's way. He's great. Thank you for always including him, by the way.
On the microphone, he's great. On the he's posing. He's very quick. I mean, he uses your lines, but he does it in such a fun way. It's fun to see this generation who grew up with the likes of you from 10 years ago now turn into UFC fighters. It's a reminder that we're all getting old. Like, Chael, 13 years ago today, Hendo Shogun won.
Wow.
San Jose. Remember that fight?
Of course.
Chandler Alvarez,
name.
same night, November
Yeah.
19, 2011. Arguably the greatest night in MMA history. 13 years ago, Chael.
Chandler Alvarez was in Bellator.
Yes,
when they fought.
but it was same
And
night.
Fight of the year.
Yeah, same night as
Golden
Hendo.
Awards that I'll be hosting.
I actually think Hendo Shogun was a better fight. Do you remember Hendo Shogun at the Shark Tank?
Hotels.
Yeah, it's great.
Distribution to be.
Will you be handing me the 15?
No, they'll probably bring in some
jabroni.
hottie to do that,
Yeah.
or but no.
Can I say? I
I'll be
mean, we've been talking
introducing
now.
a hottie.
We've been talking now for like 50 minutes. I do have to say, a little bit offended.
About what?
I mean, you come to the new house. You're very complimentary. You mentioned the rug. You mentioned.
Nice. You do a nice job.
I'm not sure if you know this, but approximately 65 million households were watching me on Friday.
Yes.
Hey, Ariel, you did a good job. I'm proud of you.
Ariel.
A comment would have been nice. Netflix.
May I?
It would have been.
May I?
Here we are,
First off, your
50 minutes.
performance was great. When you brought in Logan Paul, which you had to do quickly, he wasn't quite part, but yeah, that was a great line that he had. When you said, don't step on his toes about Logan Paul, it was just really funny stuff. When Tyson said, I have a biting fixation, you go, yeah, I've heard about that. Nothing else needed said. You did more with less than anybody. I really did love your performance. And quite frankly, Netflix pulled that off. And they had some buffering issues.
Mm-hmm.
I hacked that, which was my phone. My phone was the hack.
Okay.
Watching it on my TV, I had the buffer issues. Watching it on a device, it was perfect.
Interesting.
And they really did a good job. There was even comic relief with Tyson's butt that was in there. Some people think that's silly. That's funny to me. Mooning somebody's funny to me. Not to mention it was on accident. He only gave the interview because it was his son.
Yeah.
He trusted them. He's got a right to be pissed off. If I don't know. He's Muslim and maybe that like offends. We'll see where that goes. But I just share with you, I thought Netflix really did a very good job, and it was a very fun event. Did you enjoy it? I was glad you were part of it.
I appreciate that. Well, it's nice. I thought maybe you'd say like, "Hey, good job, kid."
I should have.
You've come a long way.
If you wanted to talk about
It was a spectacle. No, it might be the biggest thing that I've ever done.
Sure. Or I thought
felt
maybe
like
you'd
the
be
Super
embarrassed
Bowl.
being part of it when they
No.
robbed Amanda Serrano like
It was
that.
one of the great moments of my life.
When they ripped her heart out of her chest and spit on it.
It's a closer
in front of
fight than
everybody.
people think. Have you
Yeah.
rewatched it?
Yes, and there's a point deduction in there.
There's a point deduction. I thought it would end up being either a draw or a victory for Amanda. I was surprised when they announced Katie, but
I think unanimous, wasn't it?
unanimous, yeah. But the takes have been outlandish.
Okay.
And I'd love to hear your take.
Well, you do make a fair point that, or you and I together, there was only 1 point deducted. The reality is,
Oh,
a
I'm
lot
talking
of
about the
fans at
takes of the
home-
whole night.
Yeah.
It's a black
the fans
eye.
at home, though, thought there should have been several points deducted, but the truth is there wasn't, and so it's math. All right, I'll move on to that. The takes at home, I don't know a lot about. I found that hack early. I was in my hotel room.
Just that it
My
was a black
father
eye.
was telling me that they had a hard time. What is it you want to talk about? Whose ass are you trying to lick? I'm trying
There's
to help you here.
I'm saying, what did you think of the night? Was it a black eye for the sport? Did Jake Paul?
Oh, a black eye. I thought you
Yes.
said a black guy. It made me very uncomfortable. No, that's what I thought you said.
Should he
That's
be
what I was trying
ashamed
to,
of himself?
Yeah,
Should he be?
right.
All that stuff. I want your take on this.
It turns out Mike Tyson.
Yes.
Okay, that's funny.
Can I tell you my take? And then you can
yes.
respond.
Yes, please.
My take is I'm tired of the sanctimonious BS from people who never watch boxing, who all of a sudden on one night say, I was conned. Oh, boxing is in the gutter. This is another example.
Sure.
Well, here's the difference between Friday, and really here's the difference between what Jake has done from the get-go and some of the other people who have ripped the heart out of boxing. And that is, he gives back. The chat is not going to like this. But he puts Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor in the co-main event. That fight does not happen if not for Jake Paul and Mike Tyson on Netflix. He puts Mario Barrios, who's not a household name, but he's the WBC welterweight champion. He's not putting it's not celebrity boxing. It's not Shaq versus Gronk on there. He's actually giving back to the sport. That whole promotion was giving back to the sport. And yet people sit there after the Tyson Paul thing who don't care about boxing, who never watch boxing, who couldn't care less about any of the particulars involved and say, boxing is dead. We were conned. That was a sham. Oh, how dare you. First of all, you didn't pay for it. It was free with your subscription, right? It wasn't pay-per-view. And B, pretty good night of fights leading up to that point. And what did you want? Did you want Tyson to get brutally knocked out? Did you want him stretchered? Because guess what? Those same people would have said, oh, he murdered him. He murdered him. What did you want? You wanted Tyson to knock out Jake? And then they would have said, oh, the fix is in. Of
course.
It's a lose-lose. But ultimately, what I think people are missing is that was 65 million households around the world watched boxing on a Friday night on Netflix on the biggest streaming platform. No one got hurt. It was somewhat competitive to a degree. Where's the problem? That's the part that I don't understand. Where's the problem?
It was entertaining and fun. So just so you understand, like when somebody comes out and complains, they very rarely tell you what a complaint is. If you've been in a relationship with girls, you will know all hell can break loose, but it's not the actual thing that they're stating. I only share with you because I felt it too. It's from a nostalgia standpoint. When Tyson goes down, when the most feared boogeyman of our vision and of our young lives goes down to a Disney kid that's 2 weight classes below him. I mean, not for nothing, but it hurts. It's one of these painful things. And I remember kind of feeling the opposite. And Dustin Poirier is a much younger guy, but when he did beat Saint Denis, it was a very exciting one. It kind of felt like one for the older guys. So I think when people were dealing with some of those frustrations or some of those agonies that can bring, that they decided to just take it out on the entire event because your points are very fair.
That's a sensible take. I'll go one step further. Sure. It's all about the gambling. People are upset because they feel like they were led to believe that there was going to be a knockout. There wasn't. That Tyson would starch him. He didn't. Or even that Jake would starch him. And I think that's where all the outrage comes from.
Sure.
Because they say, oh, he took his foot off the gas. He went easy on him. Or it was a work. Or he carried him. All this nonsense. And I think it's ultimately because they bet on it. And they say the promotion told us with the 20-second clips that the old Mike was going to come back. Yep. What? Are you unfamiliar with the art of promoting? That's what promoters do. You really thought that 58-year-old Mike Tyson would look like the Tyson who knocked out Spinks?
Sure.
Or, like 1990 Mike Tyson? Like, who?
Sure.
Clearly, you know nothing about boxing.
Sure.
And so, to me, it almost was a win-win because we didn't get Tyson stretchered out. He was competitive for the first 2 rounds. Jake moves on to live and fight another day, and everyone goes home happy. I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised that the outrage is this great because it feels like because it was not what people convinced themselves it was going to be, now all of a sudden it's a black eye on the sport that they don't even watch or care.
Well, and it's a big deal that we got these numbers, 66 million. I saw that same thing as maybe it's even got up to 67 million. But it's a very big deal. We got that from Netflix. That's a publicly traded company. That information is accurate and it must be accurate. The top boxing fight of all time is whoever's press release lied more than the previous press release lied. Those numbers have never been confirmed by anybody at Cox, Time Warner, DirecTV, never, because they're complete and utter lies. This number actually came in, and that can't be touched. I mean, that's 66 million. And people didn't watch it alone. They're having parties and gatherings and friends over, even their son and their daughter. I mean, hundreds of millions of people. A massive part of our country stopped what they were doing.
World.
Yeah, can you believe that? To watch the fight, though. That's incredible, Ariel. Good for them. No, there was no black eye anywhere, and you got to try those things. You know, Paul doesn't quite know where he's at. He's a legit tough guy, but he doesn't quite know himself. And see, that's relevant. See, Vitor got in trouble when Vitor went in there and beat up Evander Holyfield. But I could imagine being Vitor. You're going to be scared of that guy. And that wasn't his opponent. He was supposed to be fighting little Oscar De La Hoya. Instead, he gets the heavyweight champion that got the jump on Mike Tyson twice. You're going to be horrified. You're going to go in there and you're going to try as hard as you can. Well, that's what Vitor did. And it turned out Vitor's pretty good. And Evander wasn't quite ready to be in there. And it almost damaged Vitor's career, where they're not even booking him and reusing him. Vitor should not have taken a black eye for that. He didn't know. And I just share with you that Paul was in the same spot. Paul looked fit. Paul gained weight. His physiology was there. He was training. He was moving around. He was in very good shape because he was scared. He doesn't know this version of Mike Tyson. He just knows the one that he saw on camera that was terrifying. So I don't like it from a negative standpoint like that. I don't like when Tyson stumbles getting to the ring. I don't like that when they pull back, he's got a knee pad on. I've watched boxing my whole life. I've never seen anyone ever wear a knee pad in boxing.
Yeah.
They should have addressed it. The announcers didn't address it, which looks suspicious, like they were told not to address it.
I asked him about it.
Yeah, I'm just sharing. And what did he say?
He said, I had something, but I'm not going to make an excuse.
You said, why did you wear the
I said,
knee
why?
pad?
Yeah, what
Good
was
for you.
going on? Did you have an injury?
And he didn't claim it. Yeah.
He wasn't
No, good
giving
for
me
him.
much, if you recall, in that post-fight interview.
No, he wasn't. And
But it was almost like
he's
he
not
could-
a great worker.
But it's almost like he could exhale at that point, because on Thursday at the weigh-ins, he was fuming. He slapped him. I think that was all real. I saw the look on his face.
Very real.
It was terrifying. And then come Friday, he went the distance. He made it. We find out afterwards he was dealing with a ton of health issues. I don't want to see him ever fight again. He made that joke. I don't know if he was being serious or not. But all in all, to me, it was like, okay, Netflix is getting into the WWE business in January. Who knows? If you're a boxer, you should want Netflix to remain in combat sports, right? I mean, this is better for everyone. The amount of money they paid on that production was huge. It's good for all of us. And so I thought it was a great night. And then I get a lot of like soccer dads at my kid's game the next day saying like, wow, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, they're awesome. I can guarantee you 3 days ago they had never heard of either of them. So that's a good thing. That's a nice, they are legit boxers. Yeah. I want to bounce around because there's so much going on.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And I would love for you to.
I wanna have a
There's just
serious
parts of that I
conversation.
don't believe. If I could just finish my thought, I was telling you that the 66 million is going to be a real number.
Yeah.
Netflix can't lie. But they said that Jake got 40 and Tyson got 20. I don't believe that. And I don't believe in any scenario that Jake got twice what Tyson got. I think that was very smart of Jake's side to put that out. I mean, he could have said, I got $10 and this guy got 5. If you got double what Tyson got, you've painted yourself on the A side as though he needs you. I think that's what the goal of that was, but I'm sharing for you. I don't think anyone did that contract. I don't think anybody sat down in the back and wrote checks twice to Jake what they wrote to Mike. That is fiction.
Fair enough. We may never know, but I got to meet the governor, by the way, Governor Abbott. Who knows?
Sometimes you have guests on that do know, and they were sworn to secrecy. Say who their sources
who are
are.
they?
But they tell
Who are
you
they?
straight up what it is. You've got to listen, Helwani. Tell me more about Governor Abbott.
What a nice man.
Yeah? Did he ask about me?
He did.
Tell him I'm doing well.
He said that I was welcome to come move to Texas because there's no state tax there.
Tremendous.
I was very excited about that. I did not know. I don't follow.
No state tax?
Yeah, I didn't know he was in a wheelchair.
No
Did you know
state
that?
tax? Yes, I did. I don't know how he got there. What a stud. He's got a lot of energy, that man.
And this is a great transition point. I want to have a very serious conversation with you, and I think that you may believe that I'm coming from a different place.
No, please go ahead.
But I want to talk about something that's very serious because I know later on, I think today you'll be on Fox News, yes? I want to talk about the politicization of the UFC. Gutfield. What did I say?
No, I was just letting you know what I'll be on Fox.
Tremendous program.
Yeah.
Politicization?
Number one in cable.
Is that a word?
Yeah.
Politicization?
You know Tyrus?
Huh?
Brodus Clay? You remember Brodus Clay?
Oh, yeah, he's on there.
The nicest guy.
Okay, but
It's not what you would think.
This is-
Like, he's
I
scary looking.
I actually
So
want to have a
nice.
serious
Please,
conversation
I'm
about
being
this.
serious.
There was once a time where
Ask anything.
Good. There was once a time where the Republican Party would say to the likes of LeBron James, shut up and dribble.
That's right.
And now it feels like, and correct me if you feel otherwise, that same party is celebrating the UFC and happy to be a part of the UFC because they're welcome at UFC events as opposed to at an NBA event or an NFL game, et cetera, et cetera. Trump is the president. A lot of people are happy about that. A lot of people voted for him, et cetera.
President-elect.
President-elect, yes, 2-time now, 45, 47. Does there need to be a sort of, like, is there something to be said that, like, sports should be the place where politics aren't as visible? Is there something to be said for that? Or, and if you can remove your cap, because, look, I've already weighed in on this. I don't know if you saw me weigh in on the election. So I think people will jump to conclusions and be like, oh, Ariel's upset. No, I said one of the darkest days in the history of this country would be if Kamala Harris is elected president. So I just want that to be known before people clip this off and think that I'm coming. I'm actually quite happy with the result, if I'm being honest. But I do feel like sports should be sports, and we don't need to ram it down our throats. The walkouts, the cutaways.
Wrap it up. I get the question. Wrap it up.
All right, let's
Are you
go.
there? All right. So let me give you a sports analogy. While we fiercely adhere to whatever we make up as we go, the interim champion fights the undisputed champion. So why Saturday did we have an interim champion in the beer garden with an undisputed champion in the ring? Well, allow me to explain. While that is the policy, we had Stipe versus John signed prior to knowing we need an interim champion and putting that in place. So even though we now have the interim champion, we didn't disrupt this. We took what we were already doing We came over here and did it. Now we got to figure out the interim title. So that was the exception. And the reason I share that with you, would Dana White have brought Donald Trump into the front row to sit with him?
I was wondering where you were going.
Well,
Okay.
perfect tie-in.
Sorry.
Just give me one
Sorry,
second.
sorry,
Would
sorry.
have Dana brought Donald Trump in to sit with him in the front row? Yes, of course. He'd done that before. In fact, they even played Trump Taj Mahal, and Donald Trump did come and sit in very similar seats with the same people, at least his 2 children. So what I'm sharing is, it's what we were already doing. Now the man just happened to run for president. So yeah, he came out. I get that there was some
Walk out
some
the
campaigning
package.
there, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm going to run for governor, Ariel. But when I officially do that, me coming and telling you that is very different. And when I go into the Secretary of State's office and I file that paperwork, I am off ESPN the same time that I hand that across the counter. There's a federal law about equal time, and they would just like that. And it wouldn't be politics. It would be a federal law that they're just trying to follow. So it's very different than sharing with you what my intentions are. And I tell you that because when that happens and all of a sudden I don't get to see you, you have to follow that federal. Now all of a sudden my friend Chael. Whereas if I am sitting here and I'm telling you I'm running for governor, it's not because all of a sudden you're in the political business. I was doing that as your friend first. And you will get excluded from plenty of things. And the fact that Dana White did not exclude him, or if Dana could even be helpful in a situation, Dana was there at a fight with a friend who was his friend who he was at fight with before anything political ever happened. And that is a big difference.
Yeah, but there weren't walkouts when he was.
For God's sake.
Apprentice-
the way you are just blowing
Apprentice
through. I am
Apprentice
giving
Trump
you
wasn't getting
statements.
walkouts. He wasn't getting that type of treatment. Come on, you
Well,
know
you just
better.
have to be quiet. Well, he used to come to the Taj Mahal and he would sit
Yeah,
there.
Taj Mahal in 2001.
I am
I'm
fully
talking about
understanding.
2012, 13, 14, 15.
And I fully understand the distinction on what you're saying. And yes, that is happening. And there is even a part of it that's a little bit of a surprise. But it is relevant that he was there before, he was included before, he helped with the company before. Now, if the company can do something to include him and maybe it helps him a little bit, come on. That is a very different thing than bringing in some front runner now today, hoping to gain some favor down the road. It's a very different thing.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just asking is when is enough enough?
But you're not considering that.
No.
Trump had promised everybody as a campaign promise that if he won, he would come to this fight.
Okay, but is it done now? Are we done with the politics?
You're probably not going to see him very often.
You don't think
Probably
so?
won't see him very often. Yeah. Just because, once he's not sworn in yet, he's got some time. He lives right over here. It was a little bit easier to do. And he promised everybody, he said, in fact, he'd said it on Joe Rogan. It was very hard to run that back. But he said, if I lose, I will probably be depressed and I won't come.
Sure.
And he said, if I win, though, I'm going to come see everybody. So I'm just sharing with you.
Do you
I know
agree,
you wanted to
though?
hold him to that campaign promise, but he did make one. And
Do you agree, though, that
promises
now
made,
that he
promises
has
kept.
bigger problems,
Yep.
right? He's got bigger issues on the plate,
Yep.
that we can scale back from this? All I'm saying is Michael Jordan once famously said, Republicans buy sneakers too.
Yeah.
There are people, can we have an open mind? There are people who maybe feel a little uncomfortable with this. Why do we have to exclude anyone?
Sure.
I'm not trying to say woke this. I'm having a real conversation here. Why
Okay.
go this far? Why can't it just be cutaway and look who's in attendance?
Sure.
The same way they did it, by the way, the first time you went to a UFC event, which was Nate Diaz versus Jorge Masvidal at MSG. They didn't do the whole big walkout. Why do we have to go this far is my question.
Yeah. Well, what I'll share with you, I think that you're overthinking that a little bit, but don't make believe that if Kamala Harris, just by example, wanted to come, or Joe Biden wanted to come, that Dana would not put him in that exact same
There's no
seat.
walkout.
Now, they aren't personal friends,
Yeah.
so Dana's not going to pretend to be his friend, but Dana would, of course, bring them in, tell them they're welcome, give them
I don't doubt that, but we're not
No.
getting this.
Well,
The
okay,
walkout,
but
the camera on him.
You know why. I don't have to actually answer and tell you why they're doing
No,
it.
I'm
You
asking.
know the answer is why, but I would like you to take into consideration that he was coming to these events before. He was very supportive to us as an industry.
I'm not doubting that. I know this. I interviewed him at an affliction
But then
event.
you have the answer. But then you have the answer. I'm not totally sure where you're. I know.
My
the point
question
that
is,
you're trying to
does
get
it
to.
end now? No, there actually isn't a point.
No, not if Donald Trump wanted to come back. If he wanted to come back,
whole big
as a sitting
walkout and
president,
everything.
Yes, they would continue to bring
From
him in.
now
He
until
would continue
eternity?
to be treated that way. They could, but don't forget, Ariel. Your problem with it is that it could have been political. It could have helped with the campaign. He's never going to ask anybody for anything again. He'll never be on public ballot again. So if he does continue to come in the future, including this one, that is kind of your evidence that they're not doing politics. You've actually just got a fight fan that wants to see a fight. What are you going to bring the president in and you're just sit him somewhere? Come on, you got to do pop and circle.
When he goes to a college football game, they show him on the camera. They don't walk him out there in the middle of the field.
Kadyrov, and we had Putin. These are not political statements, but two leaders of countries at the same fight when it was in Abu Dhabi, as well as the Crown Prince and Prime Minister of France, all at the same Same event. So the UFC is it's very open. The Olympic Games are very opening. Most of the top leaders will go to the Olympic Games to show the athletes a little bit.
I love it. I have no problem with it. I have
As
no
long as
problem.
they are not making a
I'm
political
just asking,
statement.
does the big walkout, does the big to-do end?
Sure. No, if the president was to come back, he would likely be able to walk in with Dana White.
And are you okay with that?
Yes.
Meaning, my question is, if it was Kamala Harris walking out, getting the big to-do, you'd be okay with it?
I fully understand. Yes, but I do understand your question. And you know where I stand. I want to be real fair about it. Shoe on the other foot. There's no political statement made. There was no request there to do anything, to vote for these people, to be this rich. No statement whatsoever. There's a walkout, there's a sit down, and then there's a massive respect show. You saw with the fighters. Every single fighter to a man
it's a fascinating
wanted
thing.
to speak to this guy.
In fact, I had a network call me yesterday and ask my thoughts on all this because they're going to do a story. Not a negative
They asked
story.
about me?
They did not, but I did mention that you would actually, no joke. I
Tell
said,
them I'm well.
So here's the thing. What I think is so fascinating about it is you don't see this in other sports. And I will say for the millionth time, I don't have an issue with politics. I don't have
a little bit of one.
I don't. I actually don't.
Go ahead.
My entire family voted.
Self-awareness is hard. Go ahead.
This is you putting it out there. I'm grown up enough to be able to talk about these things and not get heated about them like some other people. I'm not saying you are. My one question is, there was once a time where we said, stick to sports. Don't blur the lines. Don't bring politics into the sport. Left politics or right politics. In other countries, like if you watch soccer in Europe, they don't talk about anything political. Right. And I know you're saying there's no campaigning going on, but let's be honest. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Dana White, Joe Rogan, and the UFC for getting Trump reelected. I think
Joe's taking way too much credit on this, but go ahead.
The UFC fan base are very in support of Trump. And I think seeing him at those events, seeing your favorite fighter come up and essentially say, this is my hero, that goes a long way to an 18-year-old kid.
Of course.
This is not a negative commentary. This is just the facts of life. And so my question is, now that it's over, now that the election is over, he's about to go into office right in January, does it end? Or is the UFC now just going to be a political playground for the next guy in 4 years who's anointed? Is J.D. Vance going to get this in 4 years?
No.
Because of the history is what you're saying.
It's fully because of the history.
Sure.
If he wasn't there prior to this big run, he's not there now. But he was there prior to the run. So if there could be a little bit of let's shine a guy up. I mean, after all, he's in the promotion business. I would like to tell you this, because I love your question about this, and I fully understood where you were trying to go. I just do feel that you do get your question answered. He has nothing to run for anymore. And
anymore. That's why I'm asking, does it end?
But he was there 2 days ago. He has nothing to run for anymore.
But he'd be getting this walkout for a year and a half.
But the fact that he has nothing to run for anymore, and he's still coming. So you said, does it end? So if it happened or was to happen again, it would actually lessen your argument that this was for politics. I understand your point, and you're right about everything. I wanted to add you a story for you, though.
Sure. Did you meet him, by the way?
ESPN.
Okay.
No, I didn't get to meet him this time. Charlie and I put in for it. Charlie and I put in, I don't know if you've ever met the wonderful Cheyenne, but Charlie, Cheyenne, and I were put in for, there was like groups of people that got, and we were not selected, however that process worked, but we wanted to. Secret Service is so damn good. These guys, not to mention that every one of them is beautiful. They got on great suits, they got a pin, you know who's who. They were so good, man. There was snipers on rooftops, and where I got put in for ESPN, it's a special process, and we got to come hours and hours early, and you get the wand and the batons, and this is after the paperwork, and I mean the whole thing. I could not get down below. To get to Obon Elliott, I had to be escorted by multiple Secret Service because I was on one floor. I was cleared for one floor, so now they had to make an exception for me to get me to another floor to get to Obon. I'm just sharing for you. There was a lot of moving parts, so meeting him where I was just not really in the.
Do you think if I was still at ESPN, they would have made the exception?
I think Charlie would have put your name in there.
No, do you think he would have said, like, of course I want to meet Helwani?
Probably.
One of our own?
I like that you're waving.
Come on.
That's a funny prop. I had something to tell you, and I've lost my train of thought. ESPN had the rights to NCAA wrestling, and Trump shows up to the event. So, like any network, they don't want that. To your point, this isn't what we do. You come in, you do your thing, have at it, but we're here for the wrestling. Yeah. So they set the cameras and they set everything up so that was not a thing. The very first wrestler to win in the championship jumped off the stage and beelined to Trump. So Secret Service stops him. It's not the path. It's not where the red ropes are guiding you to. And Trump says, let him in. Let him in. So the first guy comes over, gets pictures, this whole bit. So the second guy, third guy, fourth guy, it was a total of 12 weight classes, all 12 winners ran
Yeah.
to Trump. And so now here's ESPN that doesn't want to be political, and they got this guy on their cameras going, what do we do? But that's where the wrestlers went. They wanted to say hello. So to your overarching point, he has definitely found a demographic here within combat. That's true.
Yeah, and it's crossing over. Yesterday, Christian Pulisic, the star for the United States soccer team, did the dance. And he said afterwards he saw John Jones do the dance.
Yeah.
So there's a fascinating shift happening here. It's not a political show, but I do think it's a fascinating topic because it's so prevalent in our sport. One of his favorite fighters is Bo Nickel.
Yep.
I think you were quite critical of his performance.
Yep.
Am I fair to say that he's received
Sure.
a ton of backlash,
Sure.
especially after his interview on the show yesterday, because people are saying, hey, you're not being self-aware here. I think the backlash is unfair. Why were you unimpressed?
Oh, no, I was impressed. I'm very impressed with Bo. I give a backlash more... apologize as a critique. I want to be helpful to Bo, but Bo got hired and he was given this opportunity in the first place, and that goes all the way to Dana White Contender Series. He did not get hired for being a mixed martial arts fighter or a boxer or a kickboxer or a gym this or that. Got hired for being a 3-time national champion wrestler. He got hired for being a university world champion wrestler. So to come in here to Madison Square Garden and to not bring the very skill that he was brought with, and what bothered me about it from a critical standpoint. And what critical is very different than, I'm not giving him a hard time. His father, trust me, I know his father very well. He will slap cold water in Bo's face, and that will not happen again. Somebody convinced Jason Nichols' son, Bo, that he wasn't good enough to go to the ground with Paul Craig. And somebody that's supposed to be in Bo's corner and supposed to be in his trusted inner circle, Bo believed him. And Bo cannot believe that. He cannot believe that there is anybody that he's got to back down from. And if he does believe it, he got to go back to the Contender Series. He belongs here. He belongs in the UFC. He belongs in the conversations opposite Khamzat Chimaev. You cannot have a Chimaev or a Bo Nickel conversation without them seeming to find one another. That's where he belongs. But he cannot be somebody that shows a weakness, even mentally, to concede a position before the fight ever took place. And frankly, I think Bo would have done just fine on the ground. I watched him do just fine on the ground with Gordon Ryan when they didn't have any punches and he had no training whatsoever. But it appeared, I could have this wrong. Maybe that's not why he stood up. That's definitely the appearance. That's the belief that I have. And that's the problem that the people had. What are you scared of? If you're so good and you're undefeated, what in the hell are you scared of? And it's a very fair question, and he does need to ask himself that. Throw a guy down and beat him up. That strategy's worked since 1993. Throw him down and beat him up.
That's actually a fascinating take, because what interested me so much about this fight was jiu-jitsu guy, great off his back against the wrestler. So what happens when the wrestler takes him down and he's now in an actual position that he likes, which is on his back? But sometimes that cancels each other out and they just stay standing. So I just chalked it up to that. I think he probably wants to show people that he's well-rounded. We've seen this. Like, look at Michael Chandler. I know he's not the level of Bo Nickel, but how often does he shoot these days? And I think a lot of wrestlers start to fall in love with the knockout, and they say, you know what, to hell with that. Let me try to be the knockout artist. You would suggest to him, though, go back to what brought you to the dance, right?
Sure.
Go
and
back
at
to
least
that.
mix it up. And if you want to try a little of this, everybody falls for that, man. Every fighter that's ever gone in here falls for somebody on the underground forum and tell them you got to go out there and trade hands with somebody. I don't know why. Khabib never bought into it. Khabib would take you down and beat you up. And if you could ever stop that, he'd deal with it. George St. Pierre would take you down and beat you up. And if you could ever stop the takedown, he'll then kick you ahead and knock you out too. But you always go to what you do best. When Bo wrestled, he had 3 moves, but he would do them in that order. He would go to his best move. If you stop that, he'd go to his second, he'd go to his third, and then he'd repeat the list. You never got to 4, 5, and 6 because he was just doing his best moves. Mike Tyson with the uppercut followed by the hook. You never have to get to him circling and throwing a jab like all these other guys with their gold teeth and their 8th grade education are telling you that know about boxing. And I'm sharing that with you that Bo left all of his best skills behind, and he did it under the perception, it was at least my interpretation, that he didn't believe he could get on top of Craig, that it was too dangerous. That's the part that I have the problem with. He won every second of the fight. He won all 3 rounds. He moved real well. His range was great. His power is something he could work on. His combination is something he could work on. But he did some things very well. But he didn't mix it up, and it's called mixed martial arts. He didn't wrestle. He's a 3-time NCAA champion. I mean, yes, I had a problem with it. I'm remaining critical of that performance, of that judgment and that decision. And whatever coach in Bo's corner convinced him he is not good enough to go to the ground with Paul Craig, we never real talk with them.
Did Michael Chandler salvage the Conor fight with that 5th round? Just with the 5th round?
Ariel, he picked him up on his back, dog. He jumped in the air. He slammed him.
But I mean, it was 4 rounds to none going into that point, right?
He was getting murdered.
Yeah.
He was getting murdered. Do you remember the night when there was an attempted homicide? Paulo Costa is fighting with Luke Rockhold. But
Okay.
in the third round, Luke is bleeding so much that he rubs his blood on Paul. Remember how disgusting that was? That was the night, I believe, of the head kick heard around the world. I think it was
Leon.
the co-main
Yeah,
event, to Leon's big win over Usman. But Luke saved himself right there. You got another $1 million payday coming just for doing that. And that was one of those moments with Chandler. He gave a look to the crowd. He gave a wink. I'm beat, guys. This is over, but let's have a little fun with this sucker on my back. And he gave him a couple of back bombs. If he could have gotten to 4 or 5, it would have been so much better. But what Chandler did with his shot on the microphone, I forgot he lost the fight.
Yeah.
When you asked me about it, I forgot that he lost the fight. And there's Charles Oliveira, who's hoping to God he's the number 1 contender while hoping to God that it ain't Islam by the time that golden ticket gets called in. And there you got Chandler trying to set up a fight. And yes, he salvaged it completely. 15,000 screaming people and Joe Rogan co-signing it proves he salvaged it completely.
He
What
cut.
did you mean earlier when you that Trump should be grateful to Joe Rogan?
Yeah,
What is that about?
Tell me.
Do you suggest that Rogan did more to help Trump than I did? Because you said it right to me.
Yes. What did you do?
Where
for
would you possibly get that? Because he had him on one time?
Yeah. I mean, what did you do? Did you openly campaign?
Whoa. Because he had him on one time?
Biggest podcast in the world, they say.
And what does that have to do with anything?
Second biggest behind the.
Okay, Bernie has been on that before. Did Bernie win an election?
I think when you're speaking to the right.
Tulsi was on there. Did she win an election? RFK was on there. Did he win an election?
I mean, they're all in very
what are you
good.
talking about?
They're all in JD.
Yeah, but what are you talking about that helped or something like
You
that?
think that's all hogwash?
No, it's not a bad thing. I mean, yeah, if you got some views, you can save me a few stops. I can go get 14 million clicks, but if I can do it all in one place, you're costing me 3 hours.
I mean,
The
Dana
trade isn't
White
all that
himself
good. I'm very happy
thanked
for
Joe Rogan.
That was shocking. That was shocking.
Nelk Boys, Joe Rogan, and Theo Vaughn.
Believe me, I heard. It was shocking.
Why? You don't believe that there's any credence to the fact that him putting him over for 3 hours?
Oh, for God's
Also, by the way,
is this a joke?
he also what was it? He endorsed them. Did he not? Did he say? And yet he put out a whole tweet and he said, "And yes, this means I'm endorsing Donald Trump." You don't think that carries weight?
You do.
I do. Yes.
You really?
Yes.
You think that swayed an election?
I don't think it
You think
swayed
the
it.
people that worked for 10 years to get to this position somehow got trumped in 3 hours because you red pilled a guy?
People
that didn't
people are
want
on
to
the
pay
fence.
taxes to the
You know what? I
extent
like
that
this
he
guy.
left the West Coast for the Midwest. I mean, really? For heaven's sakes.
Wait.
What do you think that's
Are we
how
tur- are we
elections
tur-
are done? I'm not heel turning, but I mean, I can only stick my tongue so far up a mythical ass with the hope that I can get on the podcast someday, which is what you're doing.
Have you ever
don't
been
think
on?
that Yes, I've been on the podcast multiple times. You don't think that Joe swayed the election? You go, Joe Rogan might say something about me. That's what you're doing right
I've
now.
never been invited on Joe's show. I never will be invited. By the way,
I did more to help this campaign. Just so
Nah,
you understand.
that's
Yes, I
crazy.
did.
That is insane.
He did 3 hours. He did 3 hours one time. I did 10 years. Where I could. You're saying this to upset me, and it's
No.
I'm not gonna fall.
I'm not saying.
My mother's giving me. We have a cue for each other. When Ariel's trying to.
I'm not saying you didn't do. I'm just saying he did exponentially more.
No,
I'm saying
he did not.
Oh my
No, we
God.
did.
Put him
3
over.
hours?
3 hours.
3 hours?
He humanized him.
3
they said.
hours, 1 week before an election, of which the majority of ballots in the majority of swing states were mail-in ballots that had already been casted. 1 day before the actual election, puts out a tweet that I endorse this guy. Are you kidding? The ballots were already in. I'm not taking away from what Joe did. I'm glad that Joe did it. But to make believe that he did more than I did, that's fiction.
So when you saw Dana White publicly thank
Who
Joe
thanked
Rogan,
me privately? Oh, you're saying publicly.
I'm
Yes,
saying,
publicly he thanked Joe.
Were you offended that you were not mentioned?
No, I didn't need to be mentioned. And I thought that Joe is the one that handled this the best. Joe is not taking a victory lap. Joe was exceedingly humble. When the president came up to Joe and grabbed him and grabbed Cormier, Joe was exceedingly humble. Like, sir, this is not my moment. This is yours. I think that Joe handled it perfectly. But making believe that you get 3 hours in Austin, you hold up a rally on an election where the ballots are already turned in, when with the rest of us been fighting for 10 years, making believe because
What
of
fighting?
one audience.
What fighting? What are you talking about? Fighting?
For goodness sakes.
Fighting what?
Fighting just means effort and trying. I agree. I don't think politicians should say fighting. They're the biggest bunch of pussies there are. I'm going to go fight for you. Well, leave the fighting to the fighters, dork.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Trump's reaction when he saw Joe, which I would believe would maybe be the first time he saw him since the podcast, suggested that Trump believes that he did something. Because you see how he pushed Attic right out of the way and went straight beeline for him. Couldn't even care about Cormier. Come on. That's a guy who's thankful that Joe endorsed him.
He was very appreciative. And that was very sincere. And we know that for a couple of reasons, but above everything, there will never be another ask. I don't need to be nice. I mean, that's one thing about Trump. He does not need anybody moving forward. He is done. He's in his second term, which I have my own opinion on, by the way. That's a constitutional claim that a person can only serve 2 terms. That is everybody's interpretation. But I believe if that were tested, I don't believe that, for one. I believe, and it uses the word consecutive, I believe it was meant for 2 terms, but it says consecutive, and I don't believe you're capped at 8 years. I believe Trump could have ran his 4, which he did, miss 4, which he did, do 4, and do 4 more. I believe he gets 8 consecutive, and nobody's going to test this. Chael looks crazy for saying this. I'm just sharing with you, I don't agree with the interpretation, and we've questioned many things about the Constitution. We questioned marriage between man and woman because it didn't say a man and a woman, and it held up at 1. And I'm only sharing for you the verbiage of how long you can serve was meant to be 4 followed by 4. If you go 4, you take a break and you can go another 4 by my interpretation.
Do you think he will challenge that?
No, heavens no. He doesn't want to do it.
Also, he's going to be like 86 by the time.
Yeah, well, he'll have the energy. He'll be able to do it.
Sure, he can do anything. He can move mountains.
Don Jr. will be ready at that point.
Oh, wow.
And it'll be very interesting only because typically with history, the incumbent has the advantage. So, you will serve, but now your whole party is toxic by that point. The media's just turned on you. They turn it with whoever's in charge. So the Democrat would come in, but this is very different because Trump essentially would be the incumbent. Incumbent meaning he's only done 4 years. So we can keep that name. We can even keep them both. We keep Don Trump right on the ticket by going to Junior if that's something he wanted to do.
And then Junior gets the big walkout because he was there in his diapers back in 2001
right.
watching the event.
What a gentleman. I mean, that guy never throws anything in anyone's face. What a gentleman he is. Ariel, somebody they will if Junior doesn't want to run, let's just say he doesn't want to run, somebody the party will speak to in closed doors, I promise you, is Dana White.
Oh.
And while Dana White would laugh at this, right, and don't even bring me up to, somebody will talk with him. And yeah, it could be very.
You think it happens?
Here's what I think.
Well, I get deported.
I assure you that somebody will speak to Dana about this. I assure you if they do that now, it will be completely blown off. However, Dana did say, and this was in 2016, that if Trump asked him to be chief of staff, he would leave the UFC and go be chief of staff. Dana has never said anything in the history of him learning how to speak that is anything against the UFC. And he said, I would leave the UFC to be his chief of staff. I respect the president so much. I would do this for Biden. I would do it if a president called on me, I would serve. And I'm just sharing with you, there is going to be a day when Dana will change his mind, and Dana White would win, by the way. He would win the presidency.
He'll deport me?
Do you believe anybody could beat him?
It
would be real fair. Remember when The Rock could have won?
Yeah.
But that was real. The Rock really would have won. 2016 was a very interesting time, and The Rock would have won the presidency.
You don't think he can anymore?
Well, he said that he doesn't want to, and no, he probably could not. They will eat their own. As soon as The Rock said that, they dug in, got to him on the side, and no, in fairness,
are you really running for governor one day?
Yeah, he said, I'm not. I'm not going to do this.
He's got a showdown against, the head of the table at WrestleMania 41. Are you really running for governor one day?
I will run for governor, yes. I told you that.
Of which state?
Oregon.
Oregon, wow.
For heaven's sake, what state? What state do I represent?
How do the rules work?
I represent the wonderful people of Westland, Oregon, which spills over to the wonderful people of the state of Oregon.
One time you ran, you won by
96%. I told you that,
99.
you scumbag. It might have been. And you go, wasn't that the run you ran unopposed? Do you know what it takes to run unopposed? What do you think? Other people don't want to run? Do you know what has to go on behind the doors to get somebody to not even put their name on a ballot? And you took all that credit from me.
My question is,
scolded me in front of my mother.
Don't
do that, Helwani.
Who did the 2% vote for if you were unopposed?
I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I would really like to know.
But can you run?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I guess we learned that with the election, right?
Sure.
Yeah, that's right.
They let gangsters in.
That's right.
Yeah. There's other political persecutions going on of me right now.
Like what?
I didn't have any issue. I announced I'm running for governor. And all of a sudden, get these names.
People are coming at you.
And you would hope that 12 good people of a jury would be able to see that.
Well, when is this election, by the way?
No one knows. That's the thing about it. No one knows.
I would vote for you.
Thank you, Ariel. I appreciate that.
I don't know if I can, but...
I wasn't really going to ask you for a vote, but I was seeking a donation.
Do you want me to endorse you on the podcast?
I said donation.
I would say to the good people of Oregon, this is your man. He will fight for you. I have not met a more loyal friend in my life. If I was getting married tomorrow, you'd be my best man.
That's even better than
You'd be in there. Would you show up?
Yeah, hell yeah, I'd show up.
You'd be there?
Of course.
With the little thingy here?
100%.
You give me the ring?
Yeah, bet I would.
Oh my gosh, what a guy! I wish we could do this for 2 hours.
Thank you very much. Is this here's your hat? What's your hurry?
This is it, yeah.
Why was it that Joe Rogan in 3 hours in Austin did more than I did in 10 years? You do not.
I've
mean
never
that.
seen you endorse him once.
You
In
truly
fact,
don't.
you can't even get a
What?
meeting with the guy. You can't even.
What?
He won't even shake your hand.
Excuse me. You used to tell me that I did the Trump hands.
did,
Excuse
you
me.
did.
I didn't mean to do that, by the way.
Yeah, you did.
If that came up, if you take a group of people and you put them in where people are, I will come out talking like them. I'm impressionable that way. But I don't think that I ever did the Trump hands like you say. But even if I did, you know what, Ariel? I've had it with you. Do I get up and leave? When's Mikey coming in?
He's coming in 2 minutes. Do you want to talk to him direct?
I feel like if we could get on the ground and just ask him the Zoom applause?
I would love it. I don't know. Let me ask the guys.
All right.
That would be amazing. You
I just want to know if you step over, you roll. That's all I need to know.
The only difference is if you come on when he's on, then I can't do the goodbye and walk you out thing because then I can't make him wait.
No one cares.
No one cares about
I
that.
don't.
You don't want the goodbye.
Just roll right through.
Is
Pretend
Mikey
you're
there?
Joe Rogan.
In a moment.
Okay, they're setting him up. So you
Yes,
want to do
the great kingmaker.
now? What I'm going to do is,
The president of the United States, he sent out a tweet and said,
Frank, can I give him my headphones because I would love to hear this. I would love to hear the explanation. Are you dirtying my new table? What's
I didn't
going on
mean
here?
to. I've
Did
been
you get
worried ever
coffee?
since you said take the lid off. I knew sooner or later
Well, I
we were going to
Yeah, you can do
spill.
that.
Oh, what's that, Frank?
You could do that.
I could do what?
You could give him the headphones.
Oh, is he ready though?
Not yet.
You're efforting. You know what they say in the TV business, Frank?
Can I go right here?
I called you Frank.
But
Yes.
they take
No.
the camera down?
Oh yeah, we got a cameraman
All
right
you have to
there.
do is hold this position, then I'll just ask
Do you need
do
me
I
to
step
come?
over or do I roll?
Do you need me to come?
Yes.
We're gonna actually.
Uma plata me.
I can't do that.
No, I'll show you where to go. You're just
don't-
going to bring your leg up.
I don't want to embarrass you.
It won't embarrass me.
I've been boxing.
You look good, actually. Yeah, that doesn't look as good. But no, let's stop doing that, please. Yeah, that's not.
Okay.
Nobody needs to.
We have some breaking news here. I wasn't planning on this, but this is the beauty of live TV.
Yeah.
You can't get this over at Bristol HQ. You know what I'm saying? I'm kidding. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I love everyone over there, my old friends. Let us say hello now to the newest member of the UFC family.
What's up with
Darth
that?
Rigatoni himself, the great Mikey Musumeci is here. Look at this guy, Mikey Musumeci. Now, Mikey, I have to tell you, I had Chael. He was refusing to leave. He doesn't want to leave because he wants to ask you. You know this man, right? I know he's a little bit older than you.
I'm such a huge fan of Chael Sonnen.
Thank you, Mikey. I appreciate that.
I should officially talk to you. I love your videos, and I grew up watching you. You're awesome.
Thank you, brother. Can I tell you something? My name, Chael, is the last 5 letters of your name. My mom just dropped the MI. That is where I got you. Yeah, so we'll always
Oh my
remember.
God,
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Yep.
You learn something new every day.
Can I tee this up, or do you?
Go
have to
ahead.
do
This is
big
all
thing?
you. This is all
I
you.
just want to ask you about a Umaplata defense real fast. So I'm the top guy. I get caught in it.
Okay.
Do I step over, which can be blocked?
Okay.
If the guy just brings his arm. Do I step over or do I roll? That's all I want to ask. And Ariel and I were going to demonstrate it, but are we not going to do that now?
If you want me to.
If you can picture the position, do I step? So I'm in an Umaplata. Do I step over his body or do I roll?
Okay, so what I want you to do is try to build height first.
Okay.
So when you build height, you're trying to remove your elbow from the triangle locked on your shoulder, right?
Okay. So I'm stuck.
And then I want you to try to put your knee in front of that leg to remove your elbow. When they try to keep your elbow stuck, that's when you could roll to clear your body. So you have to give them a dilemma. They try to take your elbow out first, and when they keep your elbow in, that's when you start rolling, and then you can begin to clear your elbow. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. But am I doing this to set up the roll? Is the whole thing to set the roll because I want him to pull me down, or is it?
No, because there's a chance, Chael. There's a chance, Chael, that you could remove your elbow when you're doing this, like by deadlifting and posturing up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. But that's what I'm asking. Like, is that common thing? Is this a strength issue? I've seen guys
Build
I've
height.
seen guys come
Build
all the way
height
up.
from your elbow by building height, like getting taller. And then when you get taller, now the person's trying to keep your elbow stuck. And it's way harder in no-gi, of course. Are we talking gi or no-gi right now?
No-gi.
No-gi. Okay, yeah. They don't have a collar grip. Life is amazing. Just stand up, hold the ankle, start getting your front knee in front of their leg, build height, and start facing them and start clearing your arm. That's the perfect way you could defend an omoplata.
Okay. That's the very first way that I ever learned to do it. What you just said, the role was more advanced. All right, Mikey, I'm not as part of this interview. I'm leaving. Congratulations on all your success. And Joe Rogan for president, according to Ariel.
If you're ever in Vegas, please hit me up. I would love to train and hang out with you, sir.
Awesome. I will call you if Joe Rogan is not free. All right, see you guys.
Wait, 1 second, Mikey. Let me just say goodbye to Chael real quick. Don't go anywhere, Chael. I love you, and thank you
And
for
Joe
putting me
Rogan.
over. And Joe Rogan, Mrs.
Yes,
Sonnen,
Kingmaker.
you are the best. Thank you so much. They'll walk
All
you
right,
up.
Mikey,
You guys
enjoy.
are great.
Bye, Ariel.
God bless the great state of Oregon and the United States of America. All right, Mikey, that was
Wait,
tremendous.
wait. I wanted to say one more thing to Chael. Damn it.
What did you want to say? What did you want to say? Chael, come back. Can you come back?
Could you come back 1 second?
Okay, 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. I'm coming back. Chael, he wants to say one more thing to you. He's coming back. He's coming back.
Thank you.
Okay, here he is. He's dying to tell you one. He's dying to tell you one more thing. All right, Mikey, he's back.
I just wanted to say that I'm from New Jersey and you're from Oregon. We both don't pump our own gas, so we share a lot in common.
So we have what coming?
You have a lot in common because you both don't pump your own gas.
Yes, that's tremendous. I'm a
Wow.
little surprised you brought me back to
New Jersey
that.
and
No,
Oregon
that's tremendous.
don't. For those that don't know, so then every time people from New Jersey or Oregon go to other states and they have to pump their gas, they don't know how.
Yeah, no, that's true.
That was
I
so
ran into
important
that.
for me to tell you for you to come back. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
and Mikey, I ran into that, and I got glasses now, so it's hard to see, and the screen talks you. Like, you kind of have to know when to push it. Do you pull the card out? Some you leave it in, then you got to pull it out fast. No, it's an entire thing. I'm hoping that Joe Rogan could change that someday. Eric,
Yeah.
could you talk to him about that?
Nah,
As an initiative
next time
change?
I'm on the pod,
Now that
I'll
he's
do
the
it.
You see, we're making
kingmaker.
a lot of progress here for the world, right? By us discussing this, like this is a real conversation that needs to happen.
I
We
agree.
need people from New Jersey and Oregon to be educated on pumping gas.
This guy's brilliant, by the way. I don't remember Mikey being funny. This is great.
Incredible.
All right.
Okay.
Goodbye to you all.
Bye-bye, Chael. There he is, the great Chael Sonnen, undefeated, undisputed, more juice than Tropicana. There he is.
I feel like we started the show very good, Ariel. We're already trying to make a change in the United States.
Yes, this is great. Where else but here can we make such a change?
Yeah, we're trying to make change. This is right now.
You have a lot going on in your life, and I want to get to all of it. So let us start with the news of you signing with the UFC. You're now exclusive to Fight Pass Invitational. You will make your debut on December 5th at the Apex in Las Vegas, which is where you reside. But I feel like we can't
16 days.
We can't necessarily tell that story, Mikey, without talking about your departure from one championship, because all of this happened in the span of 2 weeks. So can you tell us the entire story? What happened? And maybe we even have to go a step back and talk about your fight against Cade Rotolo falling through and then you having to go to the hospital. You could start whichever way you want to start, but I'd love to know the A, B, and C of it all.
Yeah, there's a lot, but
we got all the time in the world. Let's start with Cade Rotolo. Why did that fight fall through?
So Cade, first of all, congrats for him winning CGI. He did an incredible job, right? And then he got injuries from CGI, and he had to pull out of my match with him in September.
Okay, now you were supposed to still stay on that card, but apparently you injured your lung and were hospitalized the day before.
So then what happened was basically they offered me another opponent at 178, and I had to be a minimum weight, I believe, of like 165 or 160 something, and I walk around a lot lighter, and I couldn't legally make that weight. Does that make sense? Because the athletic commission. So I told them I can't do that match because I legally can't make that weight. So I would prefer to just do my division, right? And I was very light. I definitely could have made 135, I believe, no problem. I just sustained that lung injury, which we all didn't know, right? I had 2 days to make the weight. I typically do it for like a week, but I was walking around my normal weight. I should have done the match at 5 pounds heavier because night before the match, the weigh-ins, I was 140 hydrated, and it was 135 the match, right? But the injury happened that night. So, but again, we didn't know. It's called phenom medium stitum. It's rip in your lung, and then air went into my throat. So when I was trying to sweat, I was telling my friends, I'm like, guys, what is wrong with my throat? It feels like so sore, like here. And it felt like Rice Krispie bubbles in my throat. But we all just like, oh, I'm probably just dehydrated. I'm dizzy, something, right? So, but I just feel something's off. And one thing also I did different, I tried doing a different style of cutting because I had 2 days to make the weight. So I drank a lot of electrolytes thinking that my number for the hydration test would just stay the same. Because how the hydration test works in one, it's basically they have a urine thing, a gravity thing where they check your urine for how much sodium's in your urine, right? And the more sodium in your urine, if it's above 1.0250, you fail hydration. But if you drink a lot of electrolytes, your urine is above 250. So you have to literally go pure water, plain water. But the way I was trying to do this cut, I was trying to do it where my urine maybe isn't pure water, but it isn't. I just wanted to do it a little healthier this time. And what happened was I drank a lot of electrolytes, and my number was staying about 150, 130. So I was okay. But then when the lung thing happened, all of a sudden my body like shut down. Like it became very hard for me to sweat. I became super dizzy and out of it. I kept trying to push, but it just seemed something was off, you know? And then my urine had so much electrolytes in it from the drinking I was doing, I couldn't remove the electrolytes from my bladder. So I drank 3 gallons of water to try to get the sodium out of my urine. And it was just stuck in my stomach, the electrolytes, you know? So became very hard. And then I just felt like something was off. I felt like I needed to go to the hospital. I felt very odd. But it was, again, we're so lucky I didn't do that match, because if I would have, I would have died. The doctor said my lung would have collapsed in 1 minute, and then I would have possibly died, right?
Wow. That sounds A, terrifying, also B, very painful. How long were you in the hospital
Yeah.
for?
I was in the hospital for I think 3 or 4 days, but when I left, I had to go 2 weeks without elevating my heart rate or breathing from my like lungs. I couldn't elevate my heart rate or anything. So I had to like lay, like I could walk a little bit, but anytime I started breathing, it started like getting weird again. So I got really scared. Again, it's like 1 out of 42,000 hospital things for this. So it's like so rare to get, right?
Wow. And so,
So they couldn't even detect it. Because I went to the medic at one, I'm like, something's off with me. I feel so weird. And of course he wouldn't think this. Like nobody would think this, you know? Until after the match, I go straight to the hospital, and then they're all in like the doctors even like, what the hell, you have this? And then they like panic, you know, and it was scary. It was really scary.
the way it
But
was, it
but
was
when I
labeled.
missed weight, I
Yes.
got a little upset because they said I missed weight.
Yes.
I did miss weight, but I couldn't keep cutting, Ariel. There's nothing I could do when you have a medical condition that stops you from cutting weight. Do you understand?
So did you feel like maybe it could have been positioned better, and it wasn't just a simple, oh, he missed weight, he wasn't fit or whatever? They should have explained what happened and protected you. Did that bother you?
I am extremely grateful for what one has done for me in my career and everything. That's what I'll start off with. Not even one, just Shatri in general. You know, I was in one because of Shatri. You know, I had a very close friendship with him. Like I saw him like a parent to me. You know, I only lived with my parents my whole life. My grandma a little bit when I went to college, but my parents and grandma. And then I moved to Asia just because of my relationship with Shatri, you know. So I am extremely grateful for what he's done for me and what he's done for grappling. You know, he really gave grappling a platform that you can make money in before anyone else, right? So and we had such amazing memories together. So I'm full of gratitude to him. However one positioned it, I have no opinion on. I'm just full of gratitude to him. Was I a little upset losing my belt? For sure, you know, because I love that belt so much, right? But it was a part of my journey in life. You know, it was a part of my path. I'm more than just a belt, you know. So I definitely felt bad for sure because I had the best intentions in the world doing that match, Ariel. I was at Masters Worlds here in Vegas, and little kids were coming up to me when I found out that the Cade match was canceled, and they were saying that their parents are driving them to watch us fight. So you could ask friends that were with me. I was like crying when they were telling me that, you know, because I felt like I was letting them down and disappointing them. So I I had the purest intentions in my heart to do this match just to like give the fans a match because so many people were traveling to see us, right? And I was pissed at Cade too. I was happy for him for making $1 million, but I was pissed that he couldn't even just message me like, "Bro, I can't do it. I'm sorry" or whatever. But it is what it is. It is what happened. I'm just grateful to be alive, Ariel. You know, like when you almost die, like you change your whole perspective changes in your life. about small things like this. I'm just happy I'm alive.
Cade, in the aftermath, and we're obviously happy as well, said, he wasn't sure where you're going to go, and you're probably just going to end up back at one championship anyway. He said this at the post-fight press conference. Did those comments upset you?
I just thought it was a little odd how opinionated he was of me when he's the one that pulled out of the match. I always just speak very kindly of him. I'm very respectful. He's the one saying he's going to submit me, this and that. And he's incredible. I was happy for him for making $1 million. I just think that he should have not accepted a match with me right after a big tournament like that, right? And I got stuck in that position too, right? Because I just fought Gabriel Souza right before then, and I wasn't allowed to stop camp, right? Because they wanted me on that Denver card with him. So I had to immediately finish that match with Gabriel and just keep training. So I was in camp like 11 months, Ariel. I had like 7 or 8 match cancellations in 1 year. I was ready to fight all year and I had like 7 or 8 bout cancellations, like total, if you include CGI with my match with Volk, right? So it was just a very frustrating year for me, and my body was destroyed from everything, and that's what happened with my lung. I think I was so destroyed, my body, from how long I was stuck in camp, that my body just was deteriorating.
So this happens, and it's upsetting, and it's scary, and it's painful, and we probably think, all right, we're going to see Mikey at some point, maybe in 2025 or end of the year, etc. But then we find out you have parted ways with one championship, and so what led to that?
So my contract was coming to an end basically, and I just wanted to be back home in the U.S. Again, I told you I love one championship, but I was there because of my relationship with Shotzi. He was like a parent to me. He was my closest friend probably for like a few years, and that's why I moved to Asia. So then when I decided I want to be back in the U.S., close to my family, UFC is 10 to 15 minutes from my house, right? So it's a no-brainer for me, especially being American. And also what I feel UFC could bring to grappling as well. I feel like it's finally another platform that could expand our sport to people that wouldn't typically watch jiu-jitsu. It's another platform that will eventually have drug testing as well. It's another platform that could make our sport professional instead of all these steroids, all this craziness. I just want a legitimate professional platform for athletes to have, for kids that are growing up, so then they could dream of being a professional jiu-jitsu person, and they don't have to think of changing careers or doing things like that, right? So I feel like the most fulfillment I could have as a person is setting this path for the next generation.
So was your contract coming to an end, or did you ask out, or did they release you? Like, was it more just you chose not to re-sign with them?
Basically, it was basically that. It was coming to an end, and I'm still good friends with Chatri. I talk to him all the time. Even them hiring Tom DeBlas, I was so happy, because I love Tom. I think he's awesome for the sport, and I have no hard feelings for one. How could I have hard feelings for an organization that helped me grow so much as a person? I'm just full of gratitude to Chatri. We were like a dysfunctional family. Sometimes we had disagreements, we would fight and stuff, but at the end of the day, I am full of gratitude for what he's done for me, and I would never speak bad of that. Does that make sense?
100%. And so then I'm fascinated by the UFC deal because they've never signed a BJJ star to an exclusive deal to compete on Fight Pass. And so do they reach out to you once this news comes out? Do you reach out to them? How does that all come about?
Yeah, so basically, I'm constantly training at UFC PI, in Vegas, because I live in Vegas.
Yeah.
I was back in Vegas because my matches, for one, I was supposed to fight Baby Shark January, February, March, April, and then June, and all those matches fell through. So I came back to the U.S. to do my camp for those matches, right? And Kate, of course. So, because I typically lived in Asia for 3 years. So I came back to the U.S. because these were the biggest matches of my life, right? And I needed my old training. I needed to train with all these different people. I really put a lot of effort in those months. And then they fell through. But in those months, I was training in Vegas. I was at UFC PI a lot. I met Hunter there, and we became good friends. And we established a relationship like that. And yeah, how I am, Ariel, is I just let the universe guide me. You know, the universe guided me to Asia at like a special time in my life in 2021. That's when I first started talking to one. My grandma just died in the beginning of 2022, and Chacha gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. And then he gave jiu-jitsu a new platform, and I was like the first person to help grow the sport. Rutolo too, but I was the first person to win the belt for one. And I feel like I did a very good job at helping our sport grow publicly to a new audience, right? Constantly new people seeing our sport, which is my whole goal now. I don't really care about titles or money or things like this. I care about helping our sport grow to the max. Again, like I said before, that is what's going to give me the most fulfillment. And our sport having more professionalism, actually drug testing, not these freaking how horrible it is now that like people promote steroids and how fake everyone is and all these shady promoters. I just wanted to have one professional, legitimate organization where people could just not have to be afraid about budgeting. If it's some weird shady investor that has money and then all of a sudden they go bankrupt, which is common in jiu-jitsu, you know. So I feel like now with UFC, it was just a perfect opportunity for me and platform that I feel like I could completely fulfill what is in my heart to do for jiu-jitsu. Does that make sense?
Oh, I love it. And I said this before you were even on. Not today. I said it when the news came out. I think this is a massive coup for the UFC, a huge, huge deal and a huge positive. And I think it's a massive loss for one, because look, I've said this before. I'm not a jiu-jitsu aficionado. If you want to call me an MMA aficionado, I wouldn't call myself as well that, but I do follow it and cover it a lot closer. I know, maybe 5 jiu-jitsu guys, off the top of my head, and I follow them and I'm interested in their career, and when they compete, I watch, and you're at the top of that list. I'm captivated by you.
Thank you.
So I think it's a huge deal, and it's a huge loss for one. And so could I ask, when you say exclusive, like, is this exclusive? You cannot compete for any other entity? You can't even do ADCC, you can't even do CJI if you want to. Is it Fight Pass only?
So for now, we're just doing the Fight Pass Invitationals, but UFC has very big plans for grappling. I don't think I'm allowed to talk about them yet.
No problem.
Just know that there's very big plans for grappling coming from UFC. Now, in terms of ADCC, those other things, like Craig, CGI, like I don't know exactly if I'm doing it for charity to help a cause. Maybe I would like push UFC to let me do it. Like my fight with Volk. I don't know if anyone knows. I was gonna do it 100% free for charity, just to donate money to help charity. I didn't want any money for it. I just wanted to help Craig and his event and help like for a good cause, right? Because that's what it's about for me. It isn't about money. These different things. Fame is great because I could just help the platform grow and help more people come to our sport. So will I do CGI? I don't know exactly. But ADCC, I don't really like what it stands for at the moment with the steroids, all these different things. I just want one professional organization for everyone to have, like I was when I was a kid. Like I told you, Ariel, I was going to be a doctor or a lawyer, and because I felt there was no chance in me making money in jiu-jitsu, So I want kids to feel that there is a chance that they can make money, that there's a professional platform. They don't have to just know random people, end up in these random promotions and just constant drama, constant BS, So that's my goal with this. And it is a little like we don't know exactly what's going to be, but yeah, there are a lot of big plans for UFC in the future. And I'm the first exclusively signed athlete, right? And that's a huge responsibility for me, but I'm also blessed and grateful for that opportunity. I know UFC has a budget. They could like finance things. Like they're not going to have budget problems. We know that they could drug test like they do for MMA. We could really legitimize and professionalize our sport, right?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's huge. And if they're really getting behind it, like they have MMA and like they want to do boxing as well, I think it's brilliant. Could I ask, is it like an event deal? Meaning you'll do 4 Fight Pass invitationals, or is it a year deal? How is it structured? Could you tell us that breakdown?
All I could say is it's the best deal I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
It's incredible. They're really treating me well, Ariel. And that's why I'm so grateful to them, and I'm grateful for what we're gonna do for jiu-jitsu. You know, if I'm getting a deal like this, I know many future generations can. But I just have to freaking keep staying strong while there's a lot of people that are gonna be mad at me for changing what the sport is now with all these random tournaments and all these shady promoters and all these things that promote steroids and all these things. I want this all gone, you know. I want to make this one platform for all of us, and I want to legitimize our sport. And people are going to be mad at me for this, but it takes people hating you. It takes people disliking what you're doing to make a difference, you know. And I'm at the point in my life where I almost died. Every day is a blessing for me, and I'm so grateful to still be alive. And I'm just blessed for this opportunity. I feel like God gave me this gift of jiu-jitsu, you know. There were so many times I wanted to quit and stop doing it, but he refused to let me. So I'm still on this path for a reason, and I'm really eager to keep helping our sport grow. And I'm really blessed for UFC. They are doing an amazing job, and for Hunter, what he's done for me.
You've mentioned shady promoters a few times. Can I ask who you're referring to?
Can I plead the fifth?
You can plead whatever you want, but I feel like I have to ask because you've said it a few
No,
times.
of course. But yeah, I'll just say a broad statement that in jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of shadiness and a lot of shady promoters that do a lot of messed up things behind the scenes, right?
Yep.
And being in it for so many years, you get really burnt out from it. And it doesn't feel legitimate or professional. You make money here and there, like different things. A random shady arms dealer might promote an event, and then they have money. Then you can make money one event, and then all of a sudden it disappears. Then another one comes. Is this what we want for the next generation? Just constant weird things like this? No. We need it to become a sport like MLB, NBA, NFL, where we have a legitimate organization with money that we don't have to question. Are they going to have money in a year from now? You know, I hated feeling that in my past.
I understand that. I couldn't agree more.
That feeling alone makes me just want to go to law school or do another career, because literally I was going to go to law school like 2 or 3 times, and I just keep stopping because of the opportunities jiu-jitsu has. But now I really feel this is the chance for us to change our sport. So
do you have any sort of idea, and can you share if you do, how many fighters the UFC is looking to sign here? Are they trying to get like
everyone.
50? Everyone. They're trying to get everyone. They're trying to take over jiu-jitsu like they have MMA.
They're going to do exactly what they did for MMA. They're going to take over. That's their goal. They want to take over jiu-jitsu. They're going to have a grappling league, and yeah, we're just going to grow the sport even more than it has been rapidly growing, Ariel.
Wow.
And that's why I'm so passionate about this. You can feel my passion when I'm talking about this,
Yeah.
right?
And what about the fact that you're the guy? You're the first one. You're the face right now.
That's what I mean. It's surreal. You know, it is really it's the most I could have done with my gift of jiu-jitsu. I really believe that this is God really put me on this path, and I'm just so blessed to be a part of it, you know. And I have the most pressure and responsibility I've ever had in my life. But I'm so grateful for it, you know, and I'm so driven right now to make this difference, you know.
Is there any chance that this creates a bridge to you maybe competing in the UFC, or are you not interested in that?
For sure. I would love. Now I feel like that I'm going to be around so many more MMA fighters. I feel like I definitely have a higher chance of having more training partners for MMA, for wrestling, for all these different things that I lack when I'm only doing jiu-jitsu, right? And I'm so young. My body's so young. You know, I never took steroids. So I say my body's like 21, 20 right now. Like I really have no injuries or anything, thank God. I have plenty of years that I could venture into MMA with the right guidance, of course, which I will have around me a lot, you know. We just have to make sure my stand-up is like blue purple belt,
right,
so I don't get murdered.
Mikey, how do you do it though? I see you eating that pizza all the time, every day, I think, and you're shredded, you're ripped. Mikey, if I would eat pizza every day, how do you do this? This is you in New York, I believe. Look at these pies. Are you eating all that? How is this possible? And how are you so shredded?
Wait, Ariel, you live in New York City, right?
Yeah, why didn't you come? I wanted you to come visit us.
I know. I'm sorry. I only had 2 or 3 days.
Next time.
So what is your favorite pizza in New York City, by the way?
That's a great question. I really like Patsy's and
old school.
Patsy's and John's.
Oh, you like the old school places? Like
yeah, man. There's history there. There's a vibe there. What do you like?
I like those too. I definitely do. Lucali is definitely home for me though, because my dad's from South Brooklyn, like literally where Lucali's from,
Okay.
like the exact block. So that's like family for me, Lucali, you know. So I'll always be like the biggest Lucali fan. But for Neapolitan pizza, Una Pizza, Neapolo, I don't even want to say it. I'm gonna get hated from Italians for this, but you know that one in New York City that's like the #1 ranked pizza place in the world?
No, I don't know.
Una
I mean,
Pizza Napoletana, I think it's called.
okay.
Holy crap, Ariel! It's like the best Neapolitan pizza I've ever had in my life.
Have you ever been to Roberta's in Brooklyn?
No, but I'm telling you, look at the rankings of best pizza in the world.
Okay.
This one is goated. Like I was amazed when I went there.
Where is it? Which part of the city?
I'm ignorant with.
Okay, we'll look it up and we're gonna go. I'm gonna send Conor there.
You have to, when I visit New York, I'll even take you to eat there. I'll treat. Like you have to freaking go eat there.
Wait, what do you mean cheat? Don't you eat pizza every night?
I said treat.
Oh, treat. Okay, sorry. Is it really every night though? Are you really eating every night pizza?
If I'm losing weight, I'll eat pizza every night. If I'm trying to stay heavier, I'll eat more, sometimes rice, chicken, more pasta.
How's that possible? Doesn't pizza make you gain weight?
I don't know. My body's so weird. When I eat pizza, my weight goes down. When I eat more like rice and like meat with like pasta, my weight like maintains.
This is a dream. Did I ever tell you what my go-to topping choice is? Have we talked about this?
I think I gave you crap for it. I don't remember what it was, but I remember yelling at you for it. Because we're East Coast people, so I am allowed to yell at you.
Yeah, you're allowed to do whatever you want.
I loved when I went to New York this time. I felt so at home because like West Coast people, they're very nice and kind, but they're not really you can't really yell at them showing that you care, like that East Coast energy, you know. Being in New Jersey, New York, like you could say F you to someone and that's like us showing like love and care.
Yeah. And you have to admit the pizza kind of sucks on the West Coast, right?
100%.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's not, especially in Vegas.
I only eat Neapolitan pizza, honestly. Neapolitan's not bad on the West Coast.
Vegas, I feel like everything is just sort of bland.
Yeah, but Neapolitan, there's like 2 really good spots.
Okay.
If you're ever in Vegas, I could like tell you, like there's this place called Signora. It's this female world champion pizza maker, and she's out of this van, and it's freaking awesome. It's all from Italy, the stuff. So for Neapolitan, again, New York pizza, 100%. You're right.
How far away are we from you opening up your own pizza shop?
That's what I mean. I feel like I'm super excited about this venture in the UFC and competing and like making this new platform. And then I want to do some other business stuff at the same time, you know? Like I feel like there's so many things that I could learn and have opportunities now that I'm going to be on such a big platform with so many incredible people, right? So I definitely want to do that one day for sure. You're right.
Is that a dream?
100%. You know, it's whatever I'm passionate about, I want to do. And I definitely have a passion when I talk about pizza.
Yeah.
So.
Is it #1 for you, like outside of sports, to open up your own pizza shop? Is that your #1 goal?
I think pizza for me is more of a hobby right now, right? Because for me, I feel like I really do have a gift for jiu-jitsu. And God wants me to do something with this that I have to maximize it. And then once I maximize whatever that gift is, I could do stuff more for me for fun, which would be like having pizza, maybe a pizza franchise, maybe other things, who knows? But right now, jiu-jitsu is my main priority, right?
And you're back in action on December 5th at the Apex.
Finally.
Yes.
I don't know how much that sucks going like 11 months, like to a year in camp. Like every month, training like you're going to fight, your body's broken down, you're dying, and then every match gets canceled.
It's got to be incredibly frustrating. That's why we're excited.
I'm not on steroids. I can't recover. I was dying.
What do you know about, and what could you tell us about Felipe Machado, your opponent?
Felipe is he's from Brazil. I think he's a guard guy. He likes leg locks, which I know a little bit about, I think. But it should be a great match. You know, I just want him to come at me and try to finish me. You know, I don't really care his game or anything. I just love people that attack. You know, and my game, like I said, I have bad ADHD, Ariel. I have no attention span or patience for boring matches. I just want to come forward and try to finish him any way I can. Whatever limb I could take, I'm taking, you know.
Are you able to sit through an entire movie and just watch it straight?
It gets hard sometimes, especially if I go on my phone, I'm done.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It has to be really good in the beginning to like keep me interested, and then I can watch.
By the way,
you know those like slow beginnings, I die. Like,
oh yeah. It's got to come out like right out of the gate.
Yeah, you have to instantly be into it. Like I remember one of the things I watched like without going on my phone was Queens of Gambit, like that Netflix series.
Oh yeah. The Queen
I was
Gambit.
able to watch the whole thing without going on my phone, which was really impressive.
Wow, that is impressive, especially as someone who, as you say, has bad ADHD. Could I ask you before I let you go, what did you think of CJI? Did you like it? Did you think it would do this well? Did you think it was a nice alternative to ADCC?
I liked CGI for sure, that they gave another platform for grapplers to make money. That's all I really cared about. What I've been speaking about, instead of winning 10K in ADCC, which is again ridiculous, only winning 10K for a medal. I just am happy that grapplers are getting more opportunities. But so that's the right path and track for jiu-jitsu. But now the next track is us having one professional organization where it's not just random pop-ups. Pop-ups are great, but are they sustainable, Ariel? I'm not saying anything about Craig in particular, but I just am worried that these pop-ups don't last every year. So then the next generation doesn't have these pop-ups to do. If it's just random investors each time giving money and then they always lose money, they're not going to keep doing those pop-ups.
That makes
agree
sense.
with that?
Oh no, 100%. There needs to be some consistency.
Sustainability.
Yeah, and consistency, and it can't just be these one-offs every year or every 2 years. I would love to see, by the way, jiu-jitsu in the Olympics, and I think that could breed a whole new set of consistency, right?
As long as it's not corrupt, I know I heard a lot of like corrupt things with Olympics and like, so maybe gi jiu-jitsu in the Olympics would be cool, because no gi jiu-jitsu will always be better for viewership. I don't think gi jiu-jitsu ever will be good for viewership, but gi maybe has a place in the Olympics for that reason,
For now, though, December 5th, you return. Really great catching up with you, Mikey. This was a lot of fun, and I loved the tutorial with Chael over there. He was really excited. He was actually bummed, as was I, that you weren't in New York. He wanted to meet you.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I really wanted to come see you also, but I just really had no time. Like I literally was at Madison Square Garden.
How cool is that?
Event. Oh my God. I've never seen an event like that before.
Had you never been to a UFC before?
In general, or is that just like, is it just the energy? Because that was my first UFC ever, Ariel.
Wow. Look at you. First UFC ever. You're there with Hunter Campbell, with the brass. You're the face of their new jiu-jitsu league. It's good to be you. But no, MSG is a special place. John Jones. To see that up close and personal, that must have been a thrill.
It was insane. I'm beyond blessed again for what's happening in my life. And I'm just so motivated now and eager to keep getting better and to keep spreading our sport to the right direction, regardless of all the people that are going to be mad at me for doing this, because I'm going to get a lot of hate for changing our sport. No. And I don't care about the hate. All I care about is that it goes in the right direction for the next generation. So when I die one day, I feel I did something good.
100%. Sometimes being a trailblazer, there's some heat that comes with it, but in the end, everyone appreciates it. One last thing, I promise. One last thing. There appears to be some sort of sentiment. I don't know if you heard Renier de Ridder talk after his UFC debut saying, if you're considering signing with one, don't do it. Take it from me. You leave, Sage Northcutt leaves. There appears to be some sort of sentiment that times aren't going well over there and that it's not a place that fighters should sign. And maybe a couple of years ago, we thought it could be number 2, and that doesn't appear, at least now, to be the sentiment. What is your reaction to that? Do you agree with RDR and this sentiment?
Again, I can't discuss other people, right? All I can discuss is my personal friendship with Chatri, and he really did right by me in my life, right? Okay. So I'm grateful for him, and I definitely have amazing memories with him, right? I feel bad for the people that had bad experiences. I can't talk on other people besides myself, right? Chatri really gave me a once in a lifetime opportunity, and forever I'll be grateful for him for that. And him even hiring Tom DeBlas, I was really happy because I do feel Tom will do great things for our sport. So again, I'm not this hostile, outspoken person with them. I'm full of gratitude for what they've done for me.
You're a classy guy, and I would expect nothing less from you. Was just curious your stance on all of that. Again, congratulations. Love to see it. Thought this was brilliant on the UFC's part. They deserve, and it sounds like Hunter in particular deserves a lot of credit for this, and I'm really looking forward to it. So December 5th, good luck to you, my friend. We'll be watching.
Thank you so much, Ariel, for your time. Have a great day.
All the best to you. There he is, the great Darth Rigatone, one Mikey Musumeci. What a character and what a scene that was with Chael, who may still be here sampling all the different coffee that we have. I loved how excited he was about the new studio because you'll recall when he came to our old studio, he really put it down. So that was a nice little feather in our cap. Two quick things before we go. John Jones tweeting out moments ago, being ranked number 2 pound for pound at 37 years old. I'm happy with that. With a little sun emoji. He also has the duck holding the UFC title as his avatar. This in response to the rankings coming out, whomever it is that is contributing to those rankings, and him coming in at number 2. Dana White himself posting on his Instagram story that these people are morons who are ranking these things on behalf of the UFC. I don't know who these people are. And tagging the great Mark Zuckerberg of Meta fame, saying, let's get this AI deal done ASAP. So there you see, these are the official UFC rankings. Makhachev 1, Jones 2, Alex Pereira 3, Topuria and Bilal Muhammad 5. Uncrowned.com, by the way, has the truly official pound-for-pound rankings in the sport of mixed martial arts. We also have the highly respected pro wrestling rankings, and people love those. Boxing ones to come as well. And as of right now, don't tell Dana White, it's Islam, Pereira, Topuria, John Jones 4. Now, I don't contribute to said rankings. I think a few boys in the back do, but that's where he falls, number 4. I'm not sure if, far be it for me to weigh in on something that I'm not contributing to, but if I was contributing, I don't think I would have him as 4. I think I would have him as 2 behind Pereira, 3 Makhachev, 4 Topuria, and 5 probably Merab, I think. But some positivity from Mr. John Jones. And I do want to mention, this just came through the wire, some breaking news, Frank. Netflix announcing that Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson was seen by over, as they put it, 108 million viewers around the world. It's the most streamed global sporting event ever, and Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano 2 is the most watched professional women's sports event in U.S. history. Would we say that's a success or not? I'm sure someone will say, but hey, it was a black eye. It was a black eye on the sport. Netflix is ABC in the 1970s. The wide world of sports, they would put on these one-off events. And that was a huge deal. Millions upon millions of people, when there were just 4 channels, would watch these events, whether it was, races between celebrities and athletes, Evel Knievel type stuff, and that's the lane that they're occupying now. And it's a pretty damn good lane because of the most successful streaming platform on the planet, but also because they do a Chestnut Kobayashi one-off on Labor Day. They'll do this. The WWE deal will open the door to many more things. That's obviously not a one-off, but it's a whole new era when Netflix, which historically has always been in the VOD business, is now in the live sporting event business. Oh, by the way, Christmas Day, NFL, huge. I mean, that's gigantic. That's gigantic stuff. So it's a fascinating time in the world of sports business, sports streaming, and I'm happy to be a part of it. In fact, in about an hour and 20 minutes, we will be live on DAZN's channels all over the gaff. Yeah, there you have it. Ariel and Ade, 5 p.m. Eastern today. Live. I'll be wearing the exact same thing. We'll be right here. Myself and my good friend Ade Oladipo, the face of DAZN Boxing, has flown in. He has made the trek from Riyadh to London to New York City to go face-to-face, mano y mano, toe-to-toe with the great Helwani, and we'll be talking about all sorts of things. I presume a little Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. I presume a little Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, a little Latino night, a little Fury Till, a little, Morel Benavidez, maybe even the return of Ryan Garcia to Ryzen on New Year's Eve, and I can't tell you that the great Eddie Hearn will be joining us as well. Of course, Eddie Hearn is going to join us. He wouldn't miss a debut. He wouldn't miss the opening of an envelope. You know what I'm talking about, Frank? People say that. He wouldn't miss the opening of an envelope.
We're all cracking up back here.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know yourself, Frankie. Let me see here. Okay. Rick's giving me the wrap-up song. Come on. I said 3:30 hard out. It's 3:42. Chael went a little
Right, so
longer.
you're 12 minutes late.
Yeah, I'm 12 minutes late.
Yeah.
Chael gave it a little long.
No, for sure.
Where's your hat? What's your
3:30
hurt?
hard out, for sure.
3:30 hard out.
Listen, man, back in the ESPN radio days, we're already back from commercial break at this point.
I'd be fired.
Actually,
by now.
Oh,
Ariel,
yeah,
we
yeah.
stopped streaming at 3:30 because of the hard.
Well,
yeah, that was the hard out.
I thought hard out was more of
You
like a
didn't hear
loose
the
term.
10, 9. Oh, yeah, right.
I thought it was
the
more
hard in it actually
a
implies
suggestion.
that it's just
Oh, okay.
a suggestion. I do have to say quickly, though,
Oh,
you talked about
please.
Chael hyping up the studio. Ade was in here. He was floored by this control room.
Oh, he loved it.
Oh, couldn't believe it.
Everyone's loving
He was
it.
like, he's not actually in his mom's basement.
Of course with
How's
that.
that class?
Of course with
If
that.
you sign off, you can go see Ade.
Oh, he's here.
He said, this is like the BBC.
Oh my God, you know yourself. We're bigger than the BBC. All right, play
All
the
right,
music.
back same time.
Play the music. I'm ready to go. 5 o'clock Eastern, right back here. We got to rejigger some things, slap on a new logo. This is all part of Uncrowned Productions. Yeah, you know, the whole crew coming together. We're a production house now, all right? We're making deals. We've got things in the works, things in the oven, Helwani Vision watch parties, post shows, Boys in the Back, The Crack, the AH show, a fantastic website led by the great Shaheen Al-Shadi and the whole crew over there. I had a moment earlier today, gents, where I was like, you know what? The childhood dream is coming true.
It's good.
Yeah, it's all coming true.
What is
walk
the
us through
childhood
it.
dream?
The childhood dream is like, you know,
Yeah.
this is it.
That's awesome.
Okay, all right. This.
Was it specifically like, hey, we're going to be done at 3:30?
When I was 8 years old, I used to dream of hosting a show on a set much like this one, talking about combat sports, reacting to mega fights like Darren Till versus Tommy Fury, breaking things down, having guests join us in studio, you know, lit or not lit, you know, those are details that don't need to be really hashed out. These are all
No, they do
dreamlike
need to be,
scenarios.
They need to be hashed out, just not over the air.
Well, how else am I supposed to get the
It's
word
not
over?
over
What am I supposed to do? Hey, guys, can you light him up, please?
You sent me 8 million slacks. I mean, we had a whole,
There's-
you've been producing the other show while you've been on air this time, and you couldn't have been like, is Chael properly lit?
Yeah, 5 o'clock. Thank you very much. Chael P, Mikey, all of you, all of them. Back later today. Same time, different place, different time, same place. Anyway, we'll talk to you at 5. Peace.